Good evening and welcome
Sure, that's very
to
right.
the
Not at all.
June 24th
Nothing works.
Conservation Commission hearing. At this point in time, I'd like to remind people, if you have your phones, electronic devices, please
Susan?
silence them or shut them off. During the hearing, we invite you to speak on whatever project you may have in front of us. But to do so, we'd like you to come up to the podium and identify yourself for the record so that everything stays nice and clean and everybody knows who you are. First on this evening's agenda is minutes. There's a May 13th.
I think I've seen them.
Has anyone read the May 13th?
Is that the one you wanted us to put on, keep on?
We should move, I'll move to continue until next meeting.
Okay. Second.
We'll just even,
Right now.
I'll have her reprint the minutes for you.
okay. And how about June 10th?
Mr. Chairman, I've read the minutes and find them acceptable.
Second.
That's Michael's motion. Maury's second. Any further discussion on the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Next on our agenda is request for determination of applicability. This is the lesser of the two permits that we're going to be hearing tonight. This goes on staff's recommendation. A negative determination allows the project to continue as presented. If a positive determination is met, that means there has to be a different type of permitting for the project. First is 190 Edgewater Drive East, East Falmouth, for permission to approve the existing dock as formally approved according to Chapter 91, License 7673.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we've reviewed the project and we're recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
Michael's motion, Maury's second. Is there anyone that would like to speak to this project? Seeing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Next is 28 Deer Run Lane, North Falmouth, Mass, for permission to build a retaining wall around the right rear corner of the house, fill with loam to raise grade, and to plant native shrubs at the top and bottom.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we are recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved. Second.
That would be Maury's motion, Mike's second. Is there anyone that would like to address this project? Seeing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Next is 9 and 15 Penzance Road, Woods Hole, Mass, for permission to repair licensed seawalls in the existing footprint, all work by hand.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we reviewed the project. We're recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
Maury's motion, Mary's second. Is there anyone that would like to discuss this project?
I just had one question. On the healthy seagrass, is that documented or is it just a visual? I'm sorry. Chip, you have on here, the outer seawall on Woods Hole side has healthy eelgrass all along the wall, and I
That's
didn't know
Mark's
if it
note.
was documented or if it was just a visual assessment.
I believe it was a visual assessment by Mark. Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry, Mark.
okay, thank you.
Okay, if there's any other questions or concerns? Seeing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Next,
Chip.
12 Clarabelle Road, East Falmouth, Mass, for permission to remove and reconstruct the existing deck in the same footprint.
-2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
Michael's motion, Maury's second. And I always like saying Clarabelle Road. Just one of
She's
those,
just going on about that right
It's
now.
one of the simple things in life. Is there anyone that would like to discuss this project?
Same wavelength.
Seeing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Next, 314 Quistit Ave, Woods Hole, Mass, for permission to remove trees infected with crypt wasp gull disease.
We are recommending a -2 under state in the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
Mary's motion, Maurice second. Is there anyone that would like to address this project? Seeing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Next is Seacoast Shores Association, Edgewater Drive East, right-of-way, ROWs, and Edgewater Drive West, ROW, East Falmouth, Mass, for permission to install 2 freestanding dinghy racks at both locations and to install a single rail fence on the westerly side of right-of-way 21 West.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we are recommending a -2 under the state in the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
Moore's motion. Mary's second. I'm sorry, I was reading. Is there anyone who'd like to?
Mr. Chairman, I'm from
Yes.
Seacoast Shores. My name's George Collins. If the board has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer those questions.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I don't think we have any concerns at this time. All right. Is there anyone else who would like to address this? Seeing none. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Next is Marine Biological Lab, Spring Bars Road, Little Bay Street, Lucerne Ave, Lake Lehman Road, Miami Ave across from Jericho Path, Cypress Street, in a couple locations, Cedar Street or Iroquois Street, Cedar Street or, I lost my place, Mayflower Street, Hiawatha or Little Bay, 8 Hamilton Street, Little Bay Street, 3 Boston Street, East Falmouth, Mass, for permission to install multi-depth sampling wells using a portable gas generator along Little Pond. Multiple locations doing the same thing. It's all just for monitoring.
Correct, and we were recommending a -2 under the state in the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
Moore's motion, Mary's second, my stumbling. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Thank you. This is a continued request for determination of applicability. This is 7 Pine Bank Road, North Falmouth, for permission to remove a 4-foot by 6-foot concrete landing and replace with an 8-foot by 12-foot deck to install and maintain native mitigation plantings to remove and dispose of existing septic system and replace with a new Title V sewage disposal system and the associated excavating, grading, and landscaping.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we are recommending a -2 under the state in the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
Moore's motion, Michael's second. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to talk to this project? Seeing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Next is a request for a hearing under notice of intent. All hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision of the commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. Thank you. First on tonight's agenda is 29 Fells Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to cut a 4-foot path to the height of 12 to 18 inches to install an elevated wooden walkway on sonotubes to access Oyster Pond to remove 4 black oaks infected with crypt wasp and replace with native trees and the associated clearing, excavating, and landscaping.
Good evening.
Good evening.
For the record, I'm Barbara Frappia with Warwick & Associates. Also here for this project is Maria Hickey of Maria Hickey Landscaping, and obviously she'll address that aspect of the project. This is the project that last week I mentioned to your chairman that this is all for him. What we have is a property on Fells Road. It abuts Oyster Pond, and all of the slope is in a velocity zone, either as designated by FEMA or with your 25-foot extension. So all of the activity proposed is within a velocity flood zone. There is no other resource in which we're doing any work. As described, we are going to cut an initial 4-foot wide path for the purposes of excavating, getting the vegetation down so that the people can get down there and auger the holes for the sonotubes, which are the base footings. And then the footings will be put on, the stringers. But what is particularly nice about this, I feel, is that with the exception of the stringers and the posts, the rest of it is removable quite easily. All of the treads will be put into aluminum U-channels, which are attached to the stringers, and they're held with simple pins. So in order to remove them, you just pop the pins, slide them right out like a kitchen drawer, and they stack right up. And they're easily removed. One person can do it. There's nothing heavy. We did show, we haven't chosen the material yet. We are looking at fiberglass because we have one here, typical, which will allow a lot of sunlight penetration to below. The other aspect of this, we're going to have one railing. It is designed with platforms at certain distances down. Those platforms are for the old and infirm. We need those. And safety issues, but they're also required by code. So many feet, you have to have some sort of platform. The other aspect is at the bottom. When you stop the stairs at the bottom of this slope, in order to get into their kayaks, our client would have to throw the kayak down and then take a leap of faith and jump in. So what is proposed is a crank that will lower down a landing so that you can step down and get into the kayak. When it's done, that cranks right back up. If you looked at the architecturals that were prepared by GM Petro Architects, it shows how that is to function. If there is any concern, which it has been expressed to me by Jennifer, that this platform gets right borderline to the category of deck. And she mentioned that to me this afternoon, and we're not wedded to that platform. And I will show you that an alternative, which would function, is this. It's strictly a set of stairs. Would you like that? Yeah. Okay. Or if everyone would like a small copy, we can change that out. Well, it's just in response to your call. But if that, we don't, again, we're not wedded to the platform. If you think the stairs would be more appropriate, or would be less likely to be abused, we would revise the design to accommodate that. The only other option we had was to lower the stairs closer to the water, which would have really ended up with us putting pilings in the water, which we wanted to avoid. Number one, we don't want to be digging in the water. Number two, we don't want to trip the Chapter 91 regulations. There is no more than, we don't exceed the 200 square feet of structure in a velocity flood zone. Here's your elevation 16. Most of the structure is above the 16, so when you do the math, we're under the 200 square feet. So every part of this stairway is removable rather quickly. It's light. There's plenty of upland storage for the components. As I said, one person can handle it themselves. They could probably get it done in an hour if they hustled. The railing, one side railing, has bolts. You just pull it up and take it away. So I think it addresses your concerns of what happens to it in the event of a storm, that it can all be removed. We did say that we're going to cut a 4-foot path. The stairway is only 3 feet. Once the stairway is in place, all the vegetation will be allowed to grow up and come in. So we just need the 4-foot for maneuverability for installation. And the vegetation will also be allowed to grow up underneath to whatever the elevation is of each tread. Needless to say, as it pokes through the tread, it will be trimmed, and it may be augmented with more native species. And that's about it for the dock. So before I turn it over to Maria, the stairs, the dock. Was that a Freudian slip?
You just slipped that one up, didn't you?
I know. So if you have any questions on that aspect of it before I'll give it to Maria.
I think we can go with Maria and then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening, Maria Hickey Landscapes. It's Maury Goldman's birthday today. So he's not here, but he said he hopes that you are happy and will give him the birthday gift of approving this project. At any rate, I marked this fall the trees that have the cryptic wasp. Hopefully you were able to see it. The orange tags is 3 on the left, 1 on the right. The whole area is loaded with poison ivy. So I'm sure you can appreciate and understand a little bit. I don't want to climb down the hillside and spray all over the trees and get poison ivy. However, 2 of the guys that work on my crew are not allergic to poison ivy, so that's who I would be sending into the hillside to cut the 4-foot path down to the water so that we can actually go in and hand dig for the sonotubes for the set of stairs that go down. And either side of the stairway going down will be re-landscaped when we're finished. There are areas of bittersweet, porcelainberry, and honeysuckle that are already growing through on the hillside. We would like permission to take those out so that the native plantings that are there can continue to flourish and fill in, as well as anything that we add. And I think that pretty much covers everything. And I did have the great idea of just running a zip line down the hillside, but. And his
No,
wife
they
actually liked
talked to me
that.
about the zip line.
Yeah, she liked that idea. She said, only if Maury's in the kayak.
Yeah.
So we did try to, come to the least invasive, disruptive way to, get down to the pond so that they can kayak. And I think what Barbara was talking about, the drop-down section at the end was just so they don't fall in the pond. Thank you. Any questions?
We're going to find out. Jen?
I don't have any questions. Maria, can you replace those trees with tupelas?
Yes,
Make Mark very happy.
absolutely,
Excellent,
absolutely.
thank you.
I'd be more than
I
happy to do
prefer
that.
this idea, Barbara, over your, let me see, I heard you call it a platform, a deck, and then your little slip up and dock. So you covered all your bases on that one. I really can't recommend it. It is the velocity zone, and it's just going down that slope. I like the fact that the stairs are removable. It keeps in what the commission has been requesting for these types of stairs in the velocity zone, so. The
And
only
I
part I
totally
can't
understood.
recommend to the board is the hinging platform on the bottom. Other than
I
that,
totally understood after
Yep.
the phone call.
Yep.
And we're very amenable to making
Okay,
it less
great.
attractive.
okay, thank you.
Maura?
Just what are the, you said you're going to be re-landscaping along the sides?
Yes.
What are you going to be putting in for native
I'd like to put in bayberry or Rosa virginiana. Rosa virginiana would be my first preference because the roots spread laterally, and I want to hold as much as the hillside in as I can.
Well, that would be good, but just remember the people are walking up and down it in their prickly. So they might just be cutting it all back to get rid of it.
Actually, it spreads this way.
Okay.
And I believe that the
comfortable.
risers will be higher than the Rosa virginiana. But
You're
that, between that and a mix of bayberry, because those seem to do pretty well on those hillsides.
Okay, thank you. Those are
Mike.
my only questions.
The mechanical engineer in me just loves that platform, but I guess we're not going to see it.
I sort of thought it was kind of cool, sort of a drawbridge.
I actually like the zip line, but.
But don't think anybody in the pond would like to see it floating through their yard or something.
No,
So
no.
I'm giving up my desire. The construction issue, augering 4-foot posts into that,
It's gonna be probably handheld power augers, they're not
Yeah.
gonna dig that by hand.
I need to have that
God bless
option
you
in
on that.
case.
That's all I can say. It's
Okay.
a short-term thing that has to be dealt with.
I'm
God
glad I'm
luck.
not doing it.
I'm glad that, while at 68, I wouldn't want to try, that's all.
Yeah.
Russ?
I'm good with the revised here, with the aluminum boat dock.
Mary?
I like the revision also. And there's an argument in your narrative that it's actually an improvement to protect the resource because of, the likelihood of a trampled path being created. I have to say, I didn't find that persuasive when I saw the site.
Not
I
on
don't
that
think there
site.
would be a trampled path
No,
on that
not
site.
with this couple, but if you had, if someone owned that house with a bunch of kids, they're gonna be scrambling up and down that bank, and there'll be a path there soon enough. But-
Okay, well, anyway, I'm glad about the revision. I think that's in order.
Jamie?
I'm good with the zip line.
Yeah,
Me too.
yeah, that would be my first
Right?
choice.
The landings, will they be removable, similar?
Yes,
Yes.
all of it is pop right out.
And
The
I,
only thing that'll be left, Jamie, would be the stringers and the post hole, the stringers in place.
I'm curious, what's the necessity of having the handrail removed?
Well, I did it for Tom. We just assume not remove it, but if Tom likes to see it all down to the stringers, so.
it's all about you,
It's
Tom.
all about you.
It's all-
Must have flown around in
I'll
the
address
storm.
that in a moment.
Okay.
So, what we have here is a very creative way. Kudos to the design. That is truly thinking out of the box. And that's a creative way to get nowhere. The board, I think, was also very receptive to this. I think that's equally as creative and falls more inside of our guidelines. The removal of handrails and such, it's in the velocity zone that we were just trying to get this minimizing what could fetch up. And that was just, again, another way for these things to, again, pretty creative, it's not like others. And it's something that one person can do, and I can truly appreciate that. Just less things to get fetched up is what the intent was on that.
And inasmuch as this is not going to be chump change to build this, they probably don't want to lose the railing either, in
Yeah.
case it was,
Right.
they just assume
And it's going to be, I appreciate the height of it, off the grade, there was a lot of considerations in this, kudos to that. Is there, at this point in time,
Mr. Chairman, Barbara, can you provide a revised plan
Yes.
from the
I've already
architect
asked
getting rid
Jim
of the...
Petros to do it. I haven't provided him with that picture yet,
Okay,
but we've already got him on board to get it done.
okay, great. We'll close that contingent upon getting me that plan, and we'll condition it if it doesn't come in before we issue this. Okay?
Any chance that we,
No, we'll close it.
oh, you'll close it, and
Yeah.
then
Well-
before I get the go-ahead, if I get the go-ahead, before I get the go-ahead to do the work.
And I'd like to give Maury some good news on his birthday.
let's
I just
Not
had
get ahead of ourselves.
one other
Oh, yeah.
request on the revised plan, Jen,
Yeah,
that, through you, Mr. Chair, to Barbara, that you show the trees that have the wasp that are gonna be removed, because you're showing all the trees on the plan. I'd like to see the ones that are gonna be, to mark them, so we know that they,
You want to go in there and do them?
no, on the plan.
I know, but in order to get them, to locate them by survey, I have to send my guys in the poison ivy to do it.
Well, you can probably look down that hill and see which ones they are.
Okay, I'll
I
figure,
mean, I'm just saying, because
I'll
if,
figure it out.
I just don't wanna see the wrong ones disappear or more than necessary disappear.
We put orange tags around him.
That, yeah.
Saw 'em over there.
You did, okay.
I'll try to
just
translate
want-
the orange tags to
I
our
have an
plan.
idea.
Yes.
Send Maria's crew that's not allergic
Allergic.
to
There
the
you
pearl
go.
diving down the slope to be the rod guy for the survey crew. How's that?
what is a...
Well, all they'd have to do is GPS it when they're
Yeah,
cutting it down.
yeah, or GPS it.
Are you going to buy me a GPS?
I need a motion to close the hearing.
Thank you.
Second?
It'll be on the plan, Maureen.
We have Russell's motion, Mary's second. At this point in time, is there anyone in the audience that would like to discuss this project? Seeing none, I'm going to call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Evening.
Happy birthday.
Yeah,
You're
happy
more than
birthday.
welcome to stay.
Okay,
You're more
next
than
on the
welcome to
agenda-
stay.
Next on the agenda is 28 Nemesket Road, West Falmouth, Mass, for permission to install an in-ground swimming pool with a bordering patio, pool fence, native tree and shrub mitigation plantings, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Good evening.
I went into one of the sheds and did that.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Tom Bunker with BSS Design. I prepared this plan for Robert and Andrea Brennan, 28 Nemasket Road in North Falmouth, West Falmouth, sorry. We were here a few weeks ago. You closed the hearing for putting an addition on the house. And this part now, they wanted a swimming pool in the backyard. Property has wetland. There's a bordering vegetated wetland on the southwest side of the property down here. It is, much of the property, about a third of the property is in a velocity flood zone, which encompasses probably about the rear, almost half of it goes through the house. Through the house here, this is all velocity zone. I've been out there, you see there's a lot of lawn and boulders sticking up in the lawn. Several sheds. So the house itself is 50 feet from the wetland, which is the A zone from this wetland. There's one shed that's closer to the wetland in this location. The proposed swimming pool right outside of the A zone, 50 feet back from the wetland. Cover, including, it's a 30 by 15 pool with 6 feet of patio all around it. It covers total 1,134 square feet in a double, a 2-to-1 mitigation zone, the B zone. So we have proposed 2,268 square feet of the native shrub planting, which I've colored here in green. There's a small area here, which is which I have not colored. Was the proposed planting to mitigate for the 200 square feet of addition that was closed under a separate hearing. There is a revision on this plan. You should have the June 17th revision from a week ago. I added an area for dewatering. This pool, the excavation will go into the groundwater by a foot or so, we expect. So there's an area up here where there's a gravel, sometimes parking area up in this location, so that we could pump the dewatering discharge up into there. We have a straw bales and filter cloth up in this location, so then the water can seep out of that and cross 75 or so feet of lawn before it gets back to the wetland, if it does get back there. So it should be clean, taken care of by then. I also added some notes that any construction access will be across the east side of the house. That's the upland side of the house over here. And that there will be no construction access on the wetland side of the house. That was a concern of yours for the addition project. 2 trees will have to be removed. There is a couple trees that are within the limit of work, but they're not going to be removed. That's just a limit of work here. There's another tree here, another tree over here. Those are not to be removed, but there are 2 trees that are within the limits of the pool patio, and those will be removed. So they have the 2,268 square feet of shrubs plus 3 trees to be planted in these locations. 2 of them are for the tree removal, and then 1 is just because we're doing mitigation planting, so we put a tree in there for that also. That is the proposal. I'll take any questions.
Thank you very much. Jen?
What kind of fence is your pool fence? Is it chain link?
Looks like it'll be chain link.
Chain link?
Well, it's up to the building code. It's non-climbable. Typically, people put in chain link.
Well, if they're going to approve a fence and a velocity zone to surround a pool, it's not going to be a solid.
No, it's
fence.
not
It'll
so.
be
Okay, no.
yeah. No further comments right now, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Maureen?
Couple questions. I'm glad that you've acknowledged where the access is, because weaving through all those trees on the wetland side was not going to work. The problem I had with the pool, I didn't see anywhere that there were any test pits done to know what the groundwater was there. And there's no depth shown on the pool, no bottom of the pool depth, no top of the pool apron elevation. So I think that's important to know if that pool's going to be floating out of the water, out of the groundwater, and when you do dewater for it. I have a real concern with that. I also had a concern with not only the trees being removed, not so much, that's not a birch, it's actually a Quonset cherry that's being removed, and that's just an ornamental. But the roots to the oak trees are, at least in the field where they were staked, on the plan it doesn't show it so much, but in the field it was very clear that there are 2 very healthy oaks that would be marginally impacted by the excavation. Because again, it's not surgical, it's not these little black lines you go in and you dig a hole. There's going to be a lot of fill cast out of there. It's going to be piled. The trees basically surround that, so they're going to be impacted, probably skinned quite a bit with the excavator. So unless they're protected really well with some kind of, snow fencing or something, so that when they get hit, they don't lose their bark. But again, it's in a V zone. I remember with Hurricane Bob, I remember the no-name storm, that backyard was all underwater. I just hope you've explained that to the applicants, that maybe a raised pool with a nice native stone wall around it, getting it up out of the more out of harm's way, like I think you did Stein Fox out on
Yes.
Little Island Road. I just think there's a lot of pitfalls there, and it's basically with the apron and the pool, it's 1,000 square feet of impact there. And again, the boulder removal, I'm going to go right back to the boulder removal. You were, I think it was Jeff that did the last presentation. And also, when they dig that pool, what you see around you is probably going to be under there.
Right.
Even bigger Volkswagens hidden. So if they hit those, I don't know what the situation, again, that you have very little area to work there. You have a shed, a house, trees, where this excavated material is going to go and where these boulders are going to go. I mean, they're going to have to be broken up or whatever. So those are my concerns. The oaks are my major concern, the impact, because we're losing oaks rapidly, as we saw tonight in several RDAs. And to see healthy ones be removed or impacted is paramount to not do. Thank you.
Fine.
It's been said.
Okay. Russ? Mary?
I agree, it's been said.
Jamie?
I just have a question we had before. Do you know what the septic system is? Is it H20? Is that going to be access? I know what you said about around the house, but
They're driving trucks over it now. It's partly under the driveway. The septic system is up by the road, and it's they're currently working on the house. I've seen trucks there, so I can only I have a plan at the office. I can check if it's H20, but I would say that it hasn't failed yet.
good.
does the applicant realize how tight the construction access is? And what size?
Actually, they said they were talking, they would hope to be able to skirt over, they're talking to the neighbor about going further out over there, getting permission to go over their land. It is tight, and frankly, when, Maury mentioned it, they'll probably have to take that smaller shed, I imagine they have to take it out of there to build the pool.
You're reading my mind. Boy, that's, it's, the trailer, the noise, all the disruption, blah, blah, that goes with it. Bing, bang, you're backing that machine in, then the trucks are coming in there, you're gonna have some big ruts. As long as it doesn't bother me, because I know what I'm looking at when I see this. I just hope that they understand the same thing. You're gonna have big piles of poo-poo out there.
I just hope, a pool company has been here and looked at it, and another general contractor, so the Brennans, sort of have representation in the construction trades that I, hope have talked to them also about,
Okay.
From the pool company in particular, about what kind of a mess it might make.
What mess it will make. It's not gonna might, it will. It's just, and it's a temporary disruption. I don't say that negatively. I just want people to be aware of that. It's, the OMG that gets me.
I have one more question. Tom, I had asked Jeff on the last one, I think this was a sketch from Acme or something, I can't remember. But,
No, that was on Seapier Road. We
oh,
asked me, we
Seapier,
had a
okay.
sketch.
But one of the things I did notice on this one also, that there's no reserve shown here. And I've been noticing in a lot of plans, I just went through my old the files, there's no reserves. And, I hope we're not using up areas that were supposed to be reserved for these permitted septic systems.
No, well, I know this isn't because this is within 100 feet of the wetland, and the reserve area is up near where
Existing?
closer to the road.
Because part of this would be reserved, no?
Pardon?
You said
No,
you have the plan?
I have the plan, like I said, I have the plan at the office. It's under more of the driveway, the
Okay.
reserve areas.
And I hope whoever went to look at the site, that they really do only have 11 feet, access along that side.
Well, that's why they realized that.
The
They're
east side.
talking to the neighbor about possibly.
Right, the garlands to come through where that fence is falling down, to come down their road and come in that way. Well, if that...
No, the neighbor on, I believe they're talking about the neighbor on lot 19.
Oh, okay, because the owner told me Lot 1, the Garlands, own the driveway where the fence is
Yeah,
falling down.
that's right.
And they would also like to see if they could come through there, which if that does happen, I would just make sure that, if this goes forward, that change would be amended so that if there's anything that they've got to cut down on their property to get there.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of pools in the B zone.
So, with everything that's been said, are there any more inquiries on the board?
Make a motion to close the hearing, take it under advisement.
Second.
Russell's motion, Mary's second. At this point in time, is there anyone in the audience who'd like to talk about this project? If you'd come up and identify yourself at the podium, please.
Hi, Mr. Chairman, Board, Jason Ellis, 42 Nemasket Road, 38 Nemasket Road. 38 happens to be, I think, lot 17, which directly abuts this particular lot to the west. And 42 is the one next to that to the west as well. So the two neighbors successively going towards the beach. We're a little, I guess, just inquiring as to how this could not be a significant impact to this particular area. As you know, it's essentially a pond that has filled into this particular backyard that has now somehow become lawn. And I guess we're concerned certainly about the addition of the impervious surface, and then where does the water go when it's emptied and how it gets emptied, and even if there is a particular separation to the wetland water, and how that would, is that enough? I guess we're significantly concerned about that as the pond, that particular pond is filled in over the past, my entire lifetime, so 45 years or so. And it seems to be filling in more and more. So if that would contribute to that and to what extent. And then also wildlife, it just seems like there's a significant number of issues that I just want to make sure the board considers as they review the application.
Okay, maybe we can get the engineer to answer that. The pool runoff question, is there any anticipated pumping and cycling of waters to maintain this pool?
I don't think there's anticipated, I mean, I'm not a pool guy. I don't think they can empty it. But I was talking about emptying it and refilling it, because if it's in the groundwater, they have to keep it filled. I think most people keep theirs filled, and there's just some filtering going on, so there's no emptying it. We don't have a dry well for emptying it or anything like that.
How about backwashing the filter, Tom?
That I'm not sure of. Yeah, we don't, there are some systems that don't do that. I don't know the details, but if we need that, we can put a dry well outside of your jurisdiction next to the pool equipment area.
So we can satisfy the neighbor's inquiry by saying that if it's necessary, if this is a pool equipment needs to be back flushed and have regular maintenance that way, that you'd be putting a dry well in to contain that.
If it's a type of system that needs a dry well for yes, it'll be near the east property line.
Okay, do you understand what he had just explained about that? Did that answer your concern?
Would a dry well, is it empty? Would it contain the entire?
When the pool, from my limited experience on it, the pool, the flushing of the filters and such is not a huge, tremendous amount of waters, and the dry well will be sized appropriately to contain that so it doesn't overflow off the ground. It would be a cylindrical, probably, pit surrounded by filter fabric and crushed stone and such, and that's what would be used to contain the backwash.
Catch basin or something?
Well, yeah, not as big as a catch basin. It's not like something the size of the street. It's probably maybe 5 foot tall at most by 3.5 feet in diameter, or
Probably less than that. I mean, I really don't know how much water it takes to back flush a filter. I don't think it's anywhere near that.
It raises a good point, though. How about winterizing? Because usually they pump those down below the, at least the skimmer.
right.
So, I mean, that water's got to go somewhere.
If it goes in, I mean, depending on it, they pump it, a dry well will infiltrate, and they can pump it out at the proper rate so that it will infiltrate and not overflow the dry well.
And where would the dry well go, Tom?
Near the east property line, next to the shed, next to where the pool
Lot
equipment is.
19, right by that shed with the equipment slab.
Yes.
See, you know, it would be nice to have these things on the plan, because when you close a hearing, then it's up to staff to always have to make sure this was done. And historically,
on the plan?
we never used to close them until all this information was submitted. I know it's nice to close them, but, you know,
Well, this was brought up by,
yeah. Well, it's a good point.
yeah,
but-
and it is, and we're digesting as is. And as far as the other concern that you had, which
We haven't-
was your second point. that you
Well,
had.
one you had a
Oh,
question
the
about
impacts on the whole area. Yes, and it's nice, it's refreshing to hear it from a different voice, but yes, that is our charge. That's what we're here for. We are measuring out the impact, the performance standards, and if it meets the regulations. That's why there's different marks on this plan showing the A buffer and such. And when he was talking about being out of jurisdiction, that's the goal line for him. You know, our activities inside this mandate certain things for him to do. Outside of that, we're limited to what we can do. But you voiced your opinion as an abutter in several ways, that you had some concerns, as does the board on a couple members so far. but I don't think there's anything here that isn't able to be overcome. I think that just addressing that, maybe,
We do have the 2-to-1 mitigation plantings. I mean, as far as habitat, you mentioned there's a lot of lawn coming in, but now we're losing 2,200, more than 2,200 square feet of lawn.
and this
There's
is
a
an activity
mitigation
that is permittable,
Yes.
you know, and that's something that also weighs in its own right. Before you come back up, are there any other concerns that you'd like to bring to the board?
I think that covers it, but we appreciate the time. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you being here, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to this project? Can you come up and just address yourself, please?
Mr. Chairman and Board, my name is Mary Beth Mosier. I'm at 38 Nemasket Road, so in a butter to 28, that property. And my question is, just what scares me a bit is just, you know, to have I'm assuming this is a chlorinated pool, is that correct? Or, well, I guess it doesn't really make a difference because it has to be cleaned anyway, but things like hurricanes, you know, is there spillage from the pool that's going to go into the ground? I mean, this is a low ground where, you know, I've over the years watched turtles come up and out of the pond, and they're sitting there sunning themselves and all that. I mean, is this pond going to end up, or the ground end up being contaminated because of any kind of spillage at all, due to weather conditions? So that's my concern.
My practical experience with pools in areas like this is that in a storm event, it's not the pool that ends up being the most concern. And it's Mother Nature and everything else that goes into the pool and then back out of the pool. The chemicals that are being used are not, this may be
Could be a salt pool.
a salt water pool, we don't know yet. You know, we're approving a structure, we don't know, and it's kind of unfortunate that we don't know what type of pool equipment it is.
Okay.
But many of these, they're not at levels of like a public pool, because a lot of people are very sensitive to chemicals now. They've come many generations forward on treating that. People are more sensitive to children and animals that use the pool as well. You know, it's not something that is going to be leaching out of it. And like I said, if you've got Mother Nature coming in, she's going to be a lot bigger than the chemicals coming out.
I know, I understand, but she comes in a lot, and we don't usually have chemicals that we have to worry about.
Duly noted.
So,
Then that again.
thank you for your time. We're very concerned. Thank you.
Thank you. Duly noted, thank you. I think, Tom, if you can, if I may interject here, you might let your client know that people have voiced these, so, outside of that,
Mr. Chairman, do you
Yes.
need a revised plan with the depth of the pool and the top of the patio and everything? And do you want a revised methodology, or a methodology on boulder removal and storage of excavated material?
people are reading my mind tonight. This is awesome.
Oh, that, and
And
you
the
need to
drywall.
mark on the plan how the oaks are could be compromised, are going to be protected. And I would particularly like a note that says that fence is gonna be chain link and not some solid, I don't know, 6-foot-high stockade structure in the velocity zone?
With space under it for animals?
No,
do
you
show-
can't,
they do
can't.
show-
can't.
you can't for the building code.
they get a
That's why I want,
6-inch.
that's why I want chain link.
Yeah.
That's a safety thing, and that's why we kind of contain those,
Gotcha.
you know, we don't let them put it all through the property.
Do you understand where the board has its concerns with what Maury had said? You've got a little list on that?
I'm making a list.
Okay. I think it would be to your benefit, and I'm wondering if continuance would be warranted so that you could address these issues with the revised plan, because it's a little more than just submitting something, because the grades are probably the largest immediate impact. And that would also give you an opportunity to give us, I would like to see what kind of pool it's going to be, what kind of equipment's going to be there, just so as to satisfy not others' curiosity, but now it's piqued the curiosity of the board.
I'll withdraw my motion to close the,
Withdraw my second. Okay.
And I'll request a continuance
And we have a,
Everybody's on the same page.
so as soon as possible.
all right. We're gonna get a date, and then we'll get a motion.
make a motion to continue the hearing.
The 8th, and that's it.
July
Yeah.
8th.
You have 3 new notices, and this will be the 4th continued.
And that's a
Yeah.
pretty quick rebound on that.
I'll make a motion to continue the hearing till July 8th.
That's what you have for the,
Second, with all the revisions and methodology.
Mm-hmm.
And
that would be Russell's
Right,
motion
well,
and
well.
Roy's second. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this project? Seeing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Now, I'm gonna find my scribble page. All right, next is 20 Beach Street, West Falmouth, Mass. for permission to construct an elevated dry-laid patio, install a dry well, native shrub mitigation, plantings, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping.
Good evening again. Tom Bunker with BSS Design for the record. Prepared this plan for Joe and Ann Grilly. We have a house here that partially the lot is in a wetland, which is displays salt marsh characteristics, certainly. And all of the lot is in A velocity zone. Toward the wetland side of the lot, that's at elevation 13, and the back upland side of the lot is elevation 12, flood zone. Because it's in a flood zone and there are some slopes here, there's some coastal bank that's located on the plan, marked on the plan. As I note in the narrative, much of this, I believe, was, the bank was created by grading when the house was built, which was around 1979. There's a good amount of lawn, but also with trees in it, and heavy vegetation along the wetland. Noted in the narrative, I think by itself that this landform, which is slopes greater than 10 to 1, does not perform most of the requisite functions to be considered a truly operative coastal bank. We can get into some discussion of that later. Grillies wanted add a patio on the between their house and the driveway. So shown here is it's somewhat elevated on about a 24-inch high retaining wall. It's going to match the grade of the second step down from the front step, and it will match the grade of the step out of the sunroom. It is to be built on lawn and where there's some ornamental shrubs. There are no native plants that will be disturbed to do this work. The house is 35 feet is from the wetland, and this patio is designed so that it comes out to it's 10 feet wide, where it is 35 feet from the wetland, so that there'll be no additional impervious surface closer to the wetland than the house is now. We have a total of 372 square feet of patio, including a set of steps going down to the driveway. And because of the wetland and the coastal bank itself, it's in an A zone, 3-to-1 mitigation. So we're putting in 1,116 square feet of native shrubs. Because there are oak trees pretty much all around there already, I don't have any new trees proposed for this, but it's fairly well treed on the, in that edge of the lot there. There are 2 downspouts existing now, which currently drain the water out and in, down the lawn and the driveway, in this corner and this corner. And so both of those will be connected to a dry well, which will be installed under the patio. The patio will be built with this wall, backfilled with granular well-drained material and dry laid with open joints to allow the water that falls on the patio to, for the most part, leach through. And then the runoff will actually be reduced by these two downspouts going into the dry well under the patio. That's the project as we propose it. I'll take questions.
Thank you, Tom. Jen?
Tom, you gotta add the salt marsh in there. It's way too close to the edge of that, to your wetland edge. It's only within like 20, 30 feet. So I need you to add the salt marsh in there. I can't accept the wetland line. I mean, I can accept the BVW line, but I want that salt marsh on the plan, I'm sorry.
Okay, we can add that. It's in the same, still triple mitigation, but
It
we'll
is,
put that
but
line.
I just, we closed one a couple of weeks ago. I really want that salt marsh on there. Okay, it's a pretty marsh too.
Yeah.
That's it.
Maureen?
The only thing I had is, I couldn't find a scale on the plan, but I might have been missing it. I know it was 1 to 20,
It's
but,
listed as 20, yeah.
yeah, it should be 1 to 20. And the other thing, I don't know if just mine missed it, but I don't even have a narrative in my notice, but,
Yeah,
no,
maybe it
no,
didn't get
but it's
across.
fine. It was pretty, you had it, luckily you had everything written on the plan. Thank
There
you.
isn't,
There isn't.
no.
There is an error.
Huh?
There is an error.
Separately.
You know, there's a
Not
supplemental.
attached. There is an error.
Oh, I didn't get one, I'm sorry.
Here you
Could
go.
be.
No, it's fine. I mean, I read through the, walked through it now. Thank you.
Mike?
A compliment. You walk that bank, you look around, and no clippings anywhere. They are really nice stewards of that piece. I'd like to commend you. That's for all the times when I complain.
You good?
I'm good.
Russ?
I'm good with it.
I'm good with the project. I'm just wondering, on the plan, there's no indication of the retaining wall, no elevations there that I could see for the patio and the wall.
Yeah, I put in a narrative. I
Right.
didn't note the wall height on that.
Can you add that to the plan?
I have the, yeah, I can add that note there. I have the elevation. On this one, I have the elevation of the patio.
Yeah, I had 2 versions of the plan, and I'm not sure what I have.
There's an earlier one, and there's an earlier one where I had omitted the coastal bank, so there's a revision.
May 28th is the most recent.
No, you have a June 11th.
Well, there's
Well,
a June 11th
received June
revision.
11th, but it's dated May.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
You have a June 11th revision that came with the June
I,
11th narrative.
yes, I missed the revision date.
But it's not on the plan, it's not on the
It's
June 11th.
not, but the elevations aren't on, as far as I can see,
They're
for the
not.
patio and the wall.
In the note down here, it says, surface elevation 9.5,
Where's that note?
right where your pen is.
Yep.
Where?
Oh, I'm very sorry.
I don't see it.
It's right underneath
But,
the arrow coming from the patio
By
down.
the middle bottom margin of the plan, that big note right there.
yeah,
Well, the lot line south.
Oh, elevation, 9.5. Sorry. Right where my
And-
pen was,
Well,
covering
I
it.
suppose this can easily be inferred, but normally walls are identified on the plan as such.
Put it on the plan.
I'm done.
Amy?
I'm good, thanks.
I would entertain a motion if there's no more inquiries, if we have enough information.
How fast can you get me that revision with that salt marsh, Tom?
Certainly by Wednesday, if not sooner.
Okay, fine.
So
Make a
acceptable
motion to
stuff?
close
Yeah,
the hearing
that's
to legal advisement.
Second.
That's Russell's motion. Mike's second. Is there anyone who would like to talk about this project? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Now, the next hearing is one that I'm going to be recusing myself from, and I'm going to have Russ as the chair during that hearing. There's a little adjustment in the schedule, and I also have to recuse myself for that as well. So with that, record is going to be in the hallway. Russ is going to be chair for this project.
I request that you take the hearing out of order, so you take the certificate of compliance first, and we'll talk about the notice later.
I have to recuse myself for that as well. That's why I'm
I believe that's what you asked me to do.
That's fine, Mike. Do you want to take Watanabe before the compliances, because there are people here for that
Sure.
project? Okay.
So now I can come back in?
Well, no, just Russ has to announce the project, request to table it, and then you can come back in, and then we'll go forward.
All right, Heinz Penzance Point Nominee Trust, care of Anastasios Parafestis Trustee, 152, 160 Penzance Point, and 0 Penzance Point, map 52-01-007-000, Woods Hole, Mass. For permission to demolish the existing single-family house, shed, and driveway to construct a one-bedroom studio with storage space below, install utilities to connect to septic system on Lot 2, reconstruct and maintain the existing stone seawall to include stone steps, stone wall, wetland relocation, wetland replication, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping at 152, along with construction access, wetland resource area buffer restorations, along with the existing right-of-way on parcel 7, map 52-01-007-000, for permission to install an in-ground swimming pool, pool patio, stone terrace, stone retaining wall, stone steps, pool utilities, lighting, fencing, to modify the existing irrigation system, provide wetland replication and off-site mitigation, to reline the driveway, temporary drainage, and associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. So I will take a motion on this.
I move to table this hearing until after the continued request concerning 67 Minot Road.
We're going to table it until after we hear the request for a certificate of compliance on the same property map.
Okay, no, I'd
Sorry.
like to modify my motion as suggested by staff.
Any other discussion along the board?
Who seconded?
We need a second.
Second.
Nobody yet.
Second is Mary's motion, Maury seconded. All right, any other discussion?
Table.
Any discussion from the audience? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Abstention, unanimous.
Yep, we'll table it.
Unanimous to table. Back up, Mike.
I'll be in on this one. Next is, on the agenda is continued request for a hearing under a notice of intent, but before I get to that, I want to just clarify something for someone in the audience, that 7 Pine Bank Road in North Falmouth received a negative determination, which means the project can go as discussed with staff. Jumping back onto this, this is 67 Knott Road, Falmouth, Mass., for permission to repair and maintain the existing licensed stone riprap seawall, including temporarily dismantling the riprap and repairing in small sections, installing beach grass and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping.
No, we didn't open it.
My name is Michael McGrath. I'm a registered engineer and professional land surveyor. My firm prepared the plan and the notice. There's an existing house that was permitted by the commission. There's also at one time a valid order of conditions to reconstruct this riprap. And what has happened over the winter is we were called to the site, and if you go and look at approximately this area, you can look down through between the capstone and the armor stone, and there's at least a 6-foot void. If you went down on the Tuttle Flats and looked in this area, there's some very significant voids underneath the capstone. So we have told the owner that the only thing he can do is to reconstruct those portions of the riprap, which means basically taking apart, reassembling it. The winter is very tough on this particular shorefront structure, and I think if he doesn't fix it, it'll collapse. So there was an agreement with the town about construction access, and it's still shown on the plan, and I think you now have a copy of that from town council. Are there any specific questions I can answer concern? I forgot to describe one thing, is that the winter storms actually eroded some of the material that was in the back, and so the plan also shows that behind the wall, we're going to bring in some sand and revegetate it with American beach grass.
Thank you, Mike.
I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Jen?
I don't have any questions. Mike, I have the license agreement between the town and the lot nobbies here. It just says that license and consent is granted upon the following conditions, and it's to license and consent to maintain a portion of the existing stone seawall or riprap within the layout of the town. My only suggestion would be to just contact the town manager's office and let him know you're going in there.
Oh, I assume that we have to, yes, I thought we had to apply to the town engineer, to be blunt, too.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. That's why when we originally asked for the continuance, it's because the town didn't sign the construction access. I'm just saying that, just notify the town engineer and/or town manager's office that you're going to be going in there.
We'd be happy to notify both.
Thank you.
Maureen?
Couple questions, Mike. The top of the wall elevation on the Chapter 91 license, it's stated it's, I think it's elevation 9, but you don't have any top of wall elevations, I don't believe, on your plan. And I think we need to have those so that when they are reconstructing, that they don't exceed the Chapter 91 license. And you gave me the permission from Mara Vista, and obviously you'll put it back in its condition that you started with. Staging of the stone, is that going to go on the back side of the wall where the erosion took place that you just stated?
The way that they would be doing this is sorry. The way that they should construct this is when they take this apart, they may need a few more armor stones, but there shouldn't be that much armor
So
stone.
they'll just put them on this landward side?
Right. And then they will need a lot of chink stone because if you look at this face, the chinks are all gone. So they would stockpile the chinks here and perhaps a few obviously, when they take it apart, they have to store all the equipment on this side. There's a the Department of Marine Fisheries has filed written testimony, and for instance, it says, as much work as possible should be conducted from the upland side of the riprap bank. So I've assumed that you knew that was here, and
You're gonna maintain that same work?
yeah.
Okay.
yeah, well, there's no reason for them to go way
No,
down.
just making sure. And then the last thing is, I think now that you just stated that there was erosion, again, there's no elevations on here, I think, except maybe one at the corner of the steps is 6. That it would be nice to have a pre-construction elevations before you bring the sand in, and then we know what the erosion rate is, or whatever, and then they can maintain it at that, and have an as-built at the end. So we know, it's not, they're not creating a huge dune or something. One of the things I did notice here, and I know it's probably not on topic, but when I see these houses in these V zones that have the whole purpose of breakaway panels, which we have discussions about all the time, I could not see how they were working there, and it appeared that it's almost become third floor living. The whole bottom is enclosed securely with storm curtain windows and everything else. And I just hope in the future, people like Mike tell their clients that, it might seem nice now while we're not having hurricanes, but at some point, these structures that have sofas and equipment and gym equipment, and I'm not saying it's in this one, but it is gonna become an issue. And I know that's a good reason why they're building this seawall, to protect all their investments, but, thank you.
Mike?
Avoid the obvious, something has to be done. I don't really see any good alternatives than although it's proposed.
Russ?
Mike hit it right out of the park.
Mary?
Nothing additional, thanks.
Jamie?
Nothing additional.
Okay. If we have enough information, and then...
Mike, you gotta get me a new, sorry, Mr. Chairman, a new plan with the top of wall elevation?
Yes, I can easily do that. If there are contours on there, they're not very clear, but I understand.
I got contour,
It
the
goes
last
to-
one I see
see
is
is
4.
Yeah, there's a 6 there. I think.
Where?
Where?
With the
Why don't
chapter
I do
9.
it this way, we'll clarify.
Please clarify the top of that
Way
wall,
over
Ray.
There you go.
Bingo.
It will be nowhere near the chapter 91.
And then, yeah, so chapter 91 is what, 9?
Well, that's why I wanna make sure,
Yeah,
the
and then if you
consistency.
could get me an existing grade and possibly a finished grade of those 2 little dune areas,
Yep,
that would be great.
I can easily get that done.
Okay.
So with that clarification, do we have enough information?
I move to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Second?
That'd be Mauri's motion, Mary's second. At this point in time, if there's anyone in the audience that would like to talk about this project,
Yes,
if you come up and identify yourself, please.
yes, my name is Christopher Shea. I live on Narragansett Street in Mar Vista. And I'm very familiar with this beach, because as a child, we rented this house here, and we used this beach. In 1992, I remodeled this house, which my sister owns. And again, I use the beach. This is, I reckon, probably about 1994, 95, when I look at the other houses that were built and weren't built. So I gauge that to be about the time. And as you see, I'm sure you've been out to the site. This is a huge difference now. If you come down Mar Vista Avenue, this is the plan from the town engineers. Excuse me.
You can put that on the easel if you want.
Actually, I'd like to leave this with you for a couple, to look at.
Actually, you would have to have a copy of that.
We'd have to have a copy of it for our public records.
Well, you could make a copy of it, do I have to?
you need to, sir.
Yeah, that,
But
well,
you
that's,
put it
I
up on
don't
the, it would be
have the
nice to see it on
ability.
the easel though.
Could you just set it
Put it
on the easel?
we'd
for
like to
Sure.
see
yeah,
it, thank
that,
you.
that would be a benefit for
And
everyone.
as you look at this, Maravista Avenue is a straight avenue like a lot of avenues, almost Central Avenue, Davisville. It comes down here and it jogs in and then goes straight. If you go to the site, you see Maravista Avenue coming down. This now will jog over this way. And I have pictures here that I will, again, make copies of. And from here to where it is now is a good 10 feet. So when this house was sold, I think it was around 2003, 2004, I forget when it was, the riprap was then fixed. And it was, I think, George Botello, don't hold me on that one. And he fixed it, and then there was some problems with boulders that were spread here, here, and here. In Calcabosa, I forget how it worked out, but the town couldn't do it, or didn't want to do it. Whatever the case may be, some of the boulders were removed. But if you go down there right now, there's a boulder that is right here, and it still is there, which in 1994, 95 wasn't there. So I think, what I like, in my mind's eye, what I'd like to do, we have an engineering department, and we have, I'm sure, a surveyor. Can we not, with this plan that's available at the engineering department, resurvey this area and see if there has not indeed been an encroachment? This is a valuable beach in the fact that it's public, you can't drive there, and it's a great neighborhood beach, and has been for years. So any encroachment upon it, I think, is an encroachment on the tourism of this town. People in this neighborhood, some have been coming there for years and years. Other people rent now and they walk. It's a great little beach. And I think that I would like for you to, and I'll make these plans available, make copies of it. But I think this thing needs to be resurveyed because there was a brouhaha when this first got rebuilt by Botello 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I forget when it was. Because indeed, there seemed to be an encroachment. You can see right, I'm sure you've been there, you can see now these boulders are coming out like this. And it's, I don't know, but I think the most facile way to deal with this is to have the town engineer go out there and survey it.
Okay, what I'd like, at this point in time, I'd like an opportunity to let the administrator address that.
Sure.
Sir, you're right, there was an encroachment. The town signed an agreement with the Watanabes, it's right here, in 2010, because there was litigation regarding exactly what you're saying, and the parties entered into an agreement, what's it called? Agreement for judgment. So the town has, Watanabes have acknowledged that the encroachment is there, the town realizes it there, parties entered in an agreement,
Right.
and the town gave the Watanabes a license to have the wall remain and have the wall be able to be repaired and maintained. So
Okay.
here is a copy of that
All right.
license, and it's in our files, so we're aware of it.
Well, you know,
Okay,
what strikes me...
There's no reason the town engineering department needs to go back out and re-engineer it. We're aware of the situation.
Well, being aware of the situation and having someone take a second bite of the apple to continue his aggression, his encroachment, to me doesn't make sense. This is a beach, the town of Falmouth derives money from tourism, and to have someone encroach upon a beach like this, which is a very unique beach, to me, I'm sure whatever is agreed upon and what is said is correct in the fact that it's been done. But it seems to be a very awkward solution for a situation that didn't have to be that way.
I understand that, sir. I am not the Board of Selectmen or the Watanabes, so I'm just letting you know the documents that we have available to us from the town. You asked for the survey to happen, you alleged encroachment, and I'm just merely saying the town acknowledges
your agreement.
that the encroachment has happened. I'm sorry. My hands are tied.
Yeah, well, thank you for your time, and...
Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Craig Martin, Precinct 9. Geez, I was here the whole night, and I did not know this was the event. I was talking downstairs. I missed the presentation. I apologize, but I do have a thorough history of this location, and the matters that occurred. And I would like to first ask a question, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
This was continued from 2 weeks ago, I believe, because you needed to obtain some information on the license agreement. That's how I understood that. And I presume that was just to ensure that the applicant had complied with the stipulations in such license agreement?
It was to, basically, the Wetlands Protection Act requires any project on land not under the control of the applicant to receive the property owner's permission. In this case, I asked Mr. McGrath to obtain the town of Falmouth permission for construction access. That is what this license agreement does. I did not have this license agreement at the time the hearing was taking place.
Okay. Because I do think before any town board grants any permissions, I think we should ensure that the license stipulations have been agreed to, that any obligations by the application were followed through. And I have a question, Mr. Chair, and I'd like this to be found out before any thoughts of closures or what have you, is who is the underwriter for the insurance liability on that wall? A very important piece of the license agreement.
That is not a Craig, with all due respect, that's not a wetlands issue, and this board is going to concentrate solely on the wetlands issue. That's something you may want to bring up to the town manager or board of selectmen, but that's not the purview of this board. They're strictly going to look at impacts to the environment. Okay?
Yeah, you all got burned by that 10 years ago when they kept on blaming this board for allowing this to happen. You got blamed on it because you didn't go and do a little research with maybe other town agencies or say board of selectmen to see if they got what they were supposed to have gotten. They hadn't, and so the selectmen and the applicants always blamed the Conservation Commission. They said we could, because the board did not go and make sure that other agencies had done what they were supposed to do. And it went on and on, and it was the Conservation Commission's fault. And I think this is a replicate, that here we go, we may be thinking about giving some permissions here, and we should make sure that at least that they fulfilled their obligations on the existing license as is.
And I'm going to address that, if I may, that as far as the board is concerned, we requested information from another town agency, and we received that information. That is, we have fulfilled our obligations as what we are for a board. The other parties involved in this, that's on them. This is what we do, that's what they do. And as far as who the underwriter and things, we do not go past that on any of the projects that we're in. If these licenses are...
This is a first, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, this is a first. There's never been this requirement for licensing town land by a private property owner. This has never been. This is the first.
Correct, that's why Mr. Martin, that's why I've asked Mr. McGrath to notify the town manager's office and the town engineer, because they will follow up on the issue of the insurance. It's written in the license agreement. I just pointed it out to the chairman who was talking to you at the time, but that's a stipulation of the license agreement, and that's going to be under the Board of Selectmen and town engineer.
Well, I just found myself 10 years ago always defending the board because the selectmen and public and the newspapers, and then it was the selectmen's fault. They never said, oh, by the way, it was our fault. No, they said, hey, Cape Cod Commission, go talk to them because they approved it. So I said I didn't want to see this repeated again, and it's going to be.
Fortunately, hopefully, the learning curve that we've had, and it's on public record on FCTV right now, we've put this out there. We have engaged the engineer to contact further, and he has agreed to that. So I have a very good comfort level that we're going to be crossing our T's and dotting our I's.
Okay, the basis, thank you, Mr. Chairman, the basis for their argument of not moving the wall that they had improperly placed. They finally, after 10 years, acknowledged that it was improperly placed. basis for that was because Concom said, hey, if we move that wall, we're gonna lose the beach. It's gonna wash out. All the selectmen were quoted, the town administrator at the time, Mr. Rittenhour, all quoted as saying, but I found out from the administration immediately that no such thing. Now that we know, apparently according to this project, we want to lift up that rock wall for some time, perhaps, and put it back. And I'm assuming that's because they now know that the beach is not going to wash away if we lift up that rock wall and do some work around it. So I'm saying, since we're lifting up the rock wall, let's put it back where it should have been. Let's put it where it should have been
And
originally.
that is what's being discussed. That is not on the table right now.
I
And
understand what you're saying.
And I appreciate your input with that. I do, and I'm not gonna bang that drum anymore tonight.
You're not going to get, well,
I-
matter of
I-
principle, I would think you'd say, no, you
The
fix it.
principle has been stated, duly noted, I truly appreciate it, but, and I'm telling you, as far as what we're doing this evening, what was presented in front of us is what we're discussing.
Okay. Thank you.
And one moment, thank you for your
Fran.
input, I appreciate it. If you'd like to come up and identify yourself, please.
Howard Grosser, President of the Falmouth Heights Mara Vista Improvement Association. Just a couple of questions. I don't want to delay the hearing.
Excuse me, sir, can you just repeat your name for the record, please?
Howard Grosser.
Thank you.
No worries. The license, is it in perpetuity, that license?
Is it-
My-
I believe it states, state, license and consent to maintain a portion of the existing stone seawall or riprap within the layout of the townway known as Mara Vista, located on the southeast corner. This license is for shoreline stabilization and for the protection of existing structures and is granted for an indefinite period of time and may be withdrawn by the town board of selectmen for any violation of this agreement by sending a notice to the trustee.
I'd like you to see the end of my nose right now, because right now, I'm gonna tell you, it's no longer right in front of us. What I just heard is if you got an issue with this, you go to the selectmen. I'm gonna put it right at their feet. You know, I want all to understand that. What I was given for information, what this board was presented with, right now, and in the record, we're looking at a project that is presented. If there's problems with what exists, bring it up in front of the selectmen.
I don't have a problem with what exists. I guess
Yeah.
that wall's no longer going to exist. And so I guess the two-part question would be, if it happened to be relocated back to where it was supposed to have been in the first place, would that be a violation of anything that's before you tonight?
No.
So the applicant could do the right thing if they wanted to.
Correct.
That's all
But
I've
would
been
have-
asking. Thank you.
Nice point. Touche. But that would involve the selectmen. That's how I'm reading it.
I think that the license agreement is just to maintain the structure on town property. It encroached, they entered into an agreement that the structure is allowed to remain and be maintained on town property. That's what that license agreement is. The wall could be moved. That wouldn't be a violation of anything you did or even that license. They would just be removing it from town property.
Well, why don't we get it
The
off
beach
town
isn't
property?
gonna wash away,
I'm not-
and it's for an indefinite period of time.
I mean, wouldn't the, yeah, I would have to agree with this gentleman. If you're gonna do the right thing, this is the time to do it.
And
And
I
move it
would
over.
like to remind the board, tonight, I'm not gonna, what we have
last
is a
night.
project that is presented to us as it is. I am not gonna redesign a project, no matter how well-intended. This is not in front of us, and it's not for me to discuss right now. I want to be really clear on that. All right? Everybody's expressed their opinions, and they can go forward with that. But that's the end of it.
The only work I show on the town land is the access. We're not touching this wall.
Mike, what about your, it says rip wrap to be repaired, and you have the dotted dashy line with the arrows?
I agree to come back to the street line.
What was that?
I'll file a revised plan showing the stop there.
Showing you stop at the property boundary?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Only because you just said that you're not, but it kind of indicates that you were going around that corner a bit.
And this is the last that I'm gonna, before I get on, do we have a motion and a second? I believe we do. Okay, this is my last little informational thing. What was presented in front of us was two portions of this seawall away from the town access, all right? If this included more of that, if this was impacting more of that, I would be open to something broader. It is not. It is far from that. They're not even entertaining that at this point in time. That's why I believe it is a moot subject. I don't want you to think I'm shutting the door on what you're saying. I understand that, and I can truly appreciate it. However, with what's being presented to us tonight, it just isn't there. I hope you understand that.
So Mike, you're gonna give me a new plan with the top of wall elevation, the elevation of the dune area, and the finished grade of the dune area, and a revision that shows you stopping the repair on the east side at that property boundary?
Yes.
Okay. And copies of your letters to the town engineer and town manager? You can just shoot those in an email when you send them. They don't have to be right away, just when you send them.
I believe that this is a street opening permit, and I cannot apply for that because I don't have the right liability insurance. It has to be a general contractor. So I believe that, so what I'm saying to you is
So
that's
when
a
you
suitable
apply to the
condition.
town engineer, it has to be through the general contractor?
Yeah, because you have to have the right kind of liability insurance to be issued the permit.
All right. Okay.
So, I mean, it's easy enough for you to just say that it needs the required permit.
That can be one of the
Yeah,
conditions.
I already have that down.
So with all the input that we have,
Is that all you need, Mark?
are there any other concerns of the board that we need to have the engineer address and prepare?
Do you guys want to see that, or just have them submit it?
I'm comfortable with the submittal. Is
Okay.
everybody else?
Fine.
Okay.
As long as I don't see an elevation 9 at the top of the wall, I'm good.
So, is there any other comments, brief,
Maury?
that would be, does anyone else, brief comment before we take the vote? Seeing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Thank you for your input. I hope that was heard. I truly do. Next is the request for a certificate of compliance. At this point, I'm going to pass this over to Russell because I am going to recuse myself.
How did that one slip?
What one?
To take away town property.
You mean that? Yeah. You found my green?
Okay, request for a hearing under a certificate of compliance. Haynes,
Here.
Penzance Point Nominee Trust, care of Anastasios Parafestis, I missed that name. 160 Penzance Road, Woods Hole, Mass. Request to discuss certificate of compliances for expired orders of conditions under DEP 25-1884, DEP 25-2186, DEP 2239, and DEP 25-2512. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting compliance with these 4 open orders, and I believe the enforcement order, Mike?
Yes.
That the existing enforcement order that was issued in 2006. I can let Mike, staff has some recommendations for some of these compliances, but I can let Mike make his presentation first, and then I can go through them.
All right, Mr. McGrath, you're up.
I assume you all got copies of the 2 letters that I wrote. One was June 3rd, and then I followed it up because 18th where I was sent an email with a whole bunch of requests for information, so I answered the request. Bottom line is, there are 4 open orders. DEP 25-1884 is repair and reconstruct seawall. And this was the reconstruction and maintenance existing permanent seawall projects complete, but certain buffer plants are not installed. There's a substitute planting mitigation that'll be discussed when I go through the summary of what's outstanding. DEP 25-2186, construct additions to the main house, install a septic system, issued 1997. And this project's complete. There was buffer that was basically the same buffer as the seawall. It was amended to put the buffer plants onto the seawall, so there's no reason why that order couldn't be issued. Then DEP 25-2239, install flow pilings. We asked for the certificate twice, but we've never received the certificate. We don't see anything outstanding on that order. There's a DEP-25-2512, reconstruct the timber pier, issued in 2000. I believe that there is, well, I wrote that we thought it complied, but I have submitted something to the commission. So what I'd like to do is quickly go back and go through what I submitted on the orders of condition. On the seawall, Mark asked us to basically define where the vegetation was in 1994. And I have given him, through various things, a series of plans, but it's not like, in 94, we didn't do the same type of detailed surveys where we located everything. So you'll see that in some of the exhibits, the survey was basically the front, meaning the portion of the peninsula that's most landward. So what I did is I did give you something that, for instance, take 99, that showed in 1999, right after, when he constructed the tennis court, the previous owner, that the area of wetland was much smaller. The definition of wetland has changed at that time, but I just wanted to introduce to you that one of the things that's happened here, that part of the mistake was that when the trust bought the land, this was a plan that was furnished to them, and there was an assumption that the wetland was the same size. But if you go to the...
Mike, I'm sorry, can you repeat that? Which exhibit are you looking at?
All right, let's go. First off, the first exhibit would be the 1994 photograph. And as you can see, that's very grainy.
Okay.
I had a 1974 that was much clearer, but he asked 94.
No, I'm more interested in your comment on the definition of wetland changed.
What I'm referring to is, if you look at the second exhibit, the plan of a restricted area,
The 96 plan?
I can't read the date.
Yeah.
Yes,
Says plan of restricted area?
yes.
Isn't that the conservation restriction that was required when the seawall was built?
When it was licensed.
Yeah, when it was licensed. So that restricted area is the conservation restricted area, not the area of wetland,
But
correct?
It was
You
what-
just said wetland definition changed, and it
But
hasn't changed since
what-
'96. I'm just trying to
But
clarify.
in any case, when it was, this is the previous owner, he imposed a conservation restriction on that area.
that small area.
And at that time, it was thought that that was the limit of the wetlands. The wetland's bigger, obviously.
Okay.
Now, so then the next exhibit was the approximate area of natural vegetation in 1994. The owner says to me that there was, and is verified in a 74 photograph, there was a much greater area of grass down by the tennis court. And he said what you can't see was there was a whole bunch of cold frames that were over by the path on the area Bush, the red line closest to the driveway to the northeast. So he said there were things there that weren't natural, and he said it was 700 square feet. So I want to bring that up, and when you try to take something from an aerial photograph that's got that bad quality, there's going to be issues. Then Mark asked for pre-existing elevations of the wall as built before and after, and so the next two plans, one of them is the proposed plan, one is the constructed plan of the seawall, and the elevations as far as what was built was consistent with the proposed work. Next thing is one of the areas of if we go to the next exhibit, is the order says that on the north and northwest side, there'll be a 35-foot average buffer strip. So Mark wanted to know what that area is, and it's 14,250 square feet. Yeah, it's the plan marked exhibit 1.
Guys,
Orange.
Lawrence, yep.
Submit photographs of existing salt marsh. I forgot to bring mine. We took photographs that I've submitted to the staff, and the way that I did that is I staked out the edge of the salt marsh that's on the plans before you, and then we took photographs. It turns out the salt marsh is bigger, so I've agreed with Jennifer that I will be submitting a revised plan showing the salt marsh. If you go back to the one we just looked at with the orange strip, you'll see there's a little strip of salt marsh, and that salt marsh is bigger. I don't know, by 10 or 15% perhaps. Then the next question was, calculate the difference in the approved versus the existing footprint of the house and translate that number into what mitigation would be required for any increase with the approved plan. So the next exhibit is number 4, and it shows that there's 5,218 square feet of footprint looking down from the sky. The proposed was 5,135 square feet. If you've been to the site, there is that round portion of the house that projects towards the southeast, and that's actually cantilevered, but I counted that as solid coverage. Pier pilings. There was a requirement that eelgrass surveys be done, and Mark points out that the order required a different firm to do the eelgrass surveys. But LEC did the eelgrass surveys. They were submitted, so I don't think there can be any issue. They've done eelgrass surveys all over the town. Next one was the pier reconstruction. And what I did was I prepared another exhibit that showed the flow configuration exhibit. And what happens is, if you can go to that exhibit, that shows the permitted in red and the black is what exists. There was 476 square feet approved. There's 504 square feet existing. And it was when I discussed this with Jennifer, I said that I assume that we are going to have to reduce the square foot so it's exactly the same. So that will be done. Then verify that the address of 160 Penzance is posted on the outside of the float, and it's not here, but I did submit a photograph that clearly shows that the address is posted on the float. I'm sorry, I don't seem to have a copy of that with me, but I did see that.
We have it.
You do, we got it.
Oh. Gee, you can tell everybody it was wrong. Then, on the original request, if we go back to the original request, it pointed out that the owner or the trust has made, there's an enforcement action that has never been completed. And so what is proposed here is two different off-site mitigation. The first off-site mitigation, if we talk about the resource area plantings, is the trust has acquired a parcel of land that we think is significant to the town of 45,052 square feet. And it is proposed that there be a conservation commission, a conservation restriction imposed on it to be donated to Salt Pond Area Bird Sanctuary. And that 45,052 square feet includes 25,820 square feet of existing buffer. It also, there's an exhibit that's attached to my letter where it shows the resource areas. And this is at Crowell Pond. This is the former residence of Esther Snyder, and we think it's an appropriate parcel. Not only does it create a significant piece of land, but it actually, if you look at it now, there's going to be almost continual open space all the way around Crowell Pond. The only place that's very narrow is on I think that north arrow's upside down. So on the easterly side, there's not much land, but if you look at it, that rounds, that will create a very significant open space parcel. There was a house on it that's been taken down. There is some, I haven't been there, but there was a picnic table there for a while, or a bench, I forget which, but it was set up for it to be a slight park, small park. And then, as far as the wetland mitigation, in the letter, I included a graphic that showed the trust made a substantial donation, and through Ducks Unlimited, they took out a very small culvert basically behind the Chappaquay Grill. It's a portion of the Great Sippawisset Marsh, and in 2008, on the east side of the bike path, there was 1.64 acres that was flooded at high tide. I included then a second copy of the plan on the next sheet, and it shows that there is 1.8 acres additional flooded tidal flats at mean high water. I would like to revise that in that when I was preparing for this, I realized that the northern portion of it has this phragmite. So the phragmite existence indicates that once you flood the fragments with salt water, they generally die off, and so that hasn't receded. The main high water was located, and it does flood that. Now, when you go to that site and you look, that large bulb of the marsh as it goes north is now healthy Spartina patents. What I did was we surveyed the inland edge of the Spartina on the west side. There are a couple of projections of Phragmites. If you go to the site, there's just some areas where it's a great time to go right now because you have the great green fluorescent green that's a little greener than Russ's shirt, and in some places you have Phragmites in clumps sticking up. So what I did was when we surveyed it back in 2008, we located the area that was flooded at high tide. Now, because instead of the small pipe, there's a rectangular concrete box culvert that was put in by Ducks Unlimited due to the trust's donation, the flushing is much greater. And so we now have an additional flooded of 1.5 acres of tidal flats at Mean High Water. I've taken out the area of Phragmites. So that's very significant in that this is one of the most, the Black Beach DCPC is one of the most highly valued environmental areas in Falmouth. I believe that this is the largest salt marsh restoration that's been done in the last 15 years, I believe, in all of Falmouth. There's been a few small ones, but nothing to this scale. And I walk the bike path all the time, and I have seen several times an American mink there. So that's why in the narrative it says, I've seen the American mink there. So what we think is that if you consider the cultural and the real wildlife value of the former Esther Snyder parcel, and you look at the efforts that this owner did in getting that salt marsh restored, we think that these are very significant mitigations compared to the outstanding work under the enforcement order. So some of this is unfortunate in a couple of ways. I remember telling Jennifer not more than 3 months ago that you never issued an approval of the enforcement action, but I did find that you had. It was sent to a different law firm, and I was not aware of it, even though my office was copied on it. So we've been thinking for years, we've been waiting for the commission to issue a decision. So there was a mistake made. So in any case, we had been thinking for years that waiting for the approval of the plan. In any case, I believe that if you stop and consider, I think that the two off-site mitigation areas have such significant value that you ought to seriously consider approving them.
You missed the 6,900 on-site for the 9,000.
Sir, could you come to the
I'm sorry.
podium, please? Thanks. And tell us who you are.
Richard Nyland, counsel, and I was brought this evening on behalf of the applicant in case any legal questions came up. What Mike has spent a lot of time talking about is there's a 9,000 square foot area that was subject to this enforcement order, which is shown in your documents. On the plans, which are in front of you for the notice of intent, there's 6,900 square feet of BVW replication, which is what we consider to be, I call on-site. So of the 9,000, we're taking care of 6,900 on-site. Mike's talking about the 1.5 acres. He's looking to get credit for the delta, the difference between the 69 and the little over 9,
by applying what took place at with the salt marsh restoration. So I didn't hear him say that, because I thought I heard him say the only thing we were looking for is to apply everything that took place off-site, but that's not the case. It's, around 75% on-site. The other thing he may have omitted is, he probably asked, well, this took place a while ago. Why are we considering mitigation that took place a while ago? Well, this enforcement order has been kicking around for a while, and while the client was doing this work, it was fully expected that it was going to be applied to the enforcement order, which we were waiting for. So then, as Mike said, he just found out that it had been issued right around that same time. So while the salt marsh restoration took place several years ago, it was always contemplated that that would be something that we would be looking for the commission to approve as an off-site mitigation for the work that had taken place on-site. Those are the only two clarifications I wanted to offer.
I'd like to add that I think you all know that there was a recent series of articles about how applicants come in and they propose to build wetlands to mitigate construction activities, and how overall the whole gist of the article was that it seemed a majority of the replicated wetlands were complete failures. And here you have a completely different circumstance before you, because if you can go out and look at this is a healthy salt marsh. So it's not only the delay because of the mistake about the issuance of the enforcement action, but that's also, you can go out and look for yourself and see that this is a healthy salt marsh.
Jen?
I have one clarification I'd like to make prior to going forward with going through the things systematically. Mr. Nyland, you said there's approximately 6,900 square feet of wetland replication to compensate for the enforcement order on site on 160, and those are in the plans for the notice, correct?
I'm sorry, 160 and 152.
152, correct?
Right, yes, 5,500 on,
Just-
if I can
yep.
answer your question.
Okay.
5,500 on 152.
Okay.
And 1,400 on 160.
55 on 152
Right,
and 1,400 on 160.
correct.
Then you don't have enough for your mitigation requirements for your proposed project.
No, that's not true. We'll go through that, and
Okay.
the plans show that we've given that we
Okay.
have compensated for the
Okay,
work
well-
in the buffer zone.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Okay, so,
There's no fill of wetlands associated with the notice of intent. It's only buffer zone work.
okay. Mr. Chairman, let's go through the easy ones first.
Okay.
DEP file 252239, clear pilings. The staff recommends that you issue compliance. That's on page
2512.
2 of 4. That's the second one down, page 2 of 4.
Yep.
DEP file 252239.
Gotcha.
The staff is recommending
Okay,
you issue
yeah.
compliance, and I think you should just vote these,
Separately?
yeah,
As
right,
we go,
as we
yeah,
go
it's
along.
going to be easier, I think.
Would that be helpful, Mike?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely, because
Okay.
you should issue them one at a time.
Yeah.
I'll take a motion on the
I'm-
25-2239.
Move to issue compliance on that outstanding condition.
Second.
Okay, so there's Mary and Maury. All those in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no? Abstentions? Any other questions? We're good? Okay. Good?
Let's go to DEP file 252186. That's the house and the septic. The 35-foot buffer strip originally associated with this project was transferred to 1884, so we'll take that on DEP file number 1884. So basically, the only difference is there's a 113 square foot difference in the existing versus proposed. So there's a net increase of 113 square feet in the Zone A of land under ocean. The commission can make a determination of whether or not you think that's in substantial compliance or not. So if you look
An
at...
addition or a deficit? There's a deficit of...
No, there's an increase, a 113 square foot increase. And if you look at Exhibit 4 in the package you received on the 17th, Mike clearly just outlines that instead of the little rectangular and bump out, it just kind of made
Right, little round.
a little
Right,
round
yeah.
thing.
The
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
right.
That, the difference is really that projection, the
Yeah.
overhanging.
You said it was cantilever. All right.
So I make a
And
motion. I'll make a motion to accept compliance on 252186, is that the number?
Correct.
Yeah.
So we'll issue compliance on 2186.
Okay, so we got Maury made the motion, Mike got the second. Any other questions you want to ask before we vote here? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved. Good.
DEP file number 252512. Is that 252512, Mike?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
It's here.
The float, you said that your client realizes he may have to reduce that float by 28 square feet.
Yes.
Has he done that yet?
No, I don't, I thought I couldn't do any work without a permit.
Oh, okay, all right.
Good
Well,
thought, Mark.
I mean, it's 28 square feet larger than originally proposed and permitted. It is in the velocity zone. Mike
Do we have to,
stated that his client realizes they do need to reduce that, so if the board wants to issue non-compliance on that until they reduce the size of the float.
I make a motion for non-compliance on 252512.
Second.
Any other questions, comments?
Okay.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved.
186, bless you. 22, all right, hang on. So non-compliance on that one. $25.12. And then 1884 was the seawall. The height of the seawall has
Varying heights.
various heights, and that 35-foot buffer strip that Mike illustrated in exhibit, give me 1 second, Mike, 1, with the little orange strip. Is that where it was supposed to go originally, Mike? Is it right along there,
It's-
more or less?
It says that there should be a buffer strip on the north and northwest side averaging 35 feet. So
So it
that's
would
how
go
I-
over the driveway like that?
No. In order to calculate the area of it, I assumed it was the 35-foot strip, and then you'd make it bulge or narrow it down to fit the area.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
So,
Okay, and you're saying that there's off-site compensation for that with the donation of the parcel around Kroll Pond, more or less. Okay. That's going to be a determination whether the board accepts that off-site mitigation or not.
Can I just clarify, because when you were talking, I wasn't entirely clear. That's an accomplished donation and conservation restriction, or is it just in the proposed state?
it would seem that if you accept it, you should hold it until you see the recorded deed.
Oh, okay, all right,
It's not a done deal.
all right.
I just have a concern that I mean, I haven't seen honestly, I didn't go out to Control Pond to see the site, if it's totally vegetated, because you're not really trading anything if it's already vegetated. You're not gaining any mitigation, you're just, I guess, protecting it, but I honestly didn't research it enough, and I apologize, to find out if it's in residential B, if it's already in a, overlay district, that, it's already a really compromised lot to even build on. Is it buildable, unbuildable? These would be factors that if it was had the natural heritage, had it as a, hotspot of, wonderful, endangered species, and it was a buildable lot, I could maybe make it palatable to make that trade. But if it's just I don't know, I don't think this board's ever done this before, made a trade on an off-site mitigation, like the, what are they, TDRs, transfer development rights, which, I know a little bit about those, but I don't, at least on my history, Jen, maybe you could clarify that. I don't think we ever have, and I'm just afraid that if it sets a precedent, that then we're gonna have denuded lots, and then in Hatchville, we're gonna start seeing them as mitigation for waterfront lots, and we're gonna lose a lot of valuable habitat. And it's not just about seawalls and protection, there's a lot of reasons for what these buffers are. And so that would just, I don't think it's a bad idea, I just don't know if it's the right idea right at the moment, without more research.
Could I answer that?
Sure.
Yeah.
If you go to my June 3rd, 2015 letter, the second exhibit shows the plan, and we actually went to the commission and we got approval to tear that house down. So that house is
Yeah,
gone.
yeah, I know the property, Mrs.
So
Snyder's property.
that house is gone, and the driveway and the picnic table, it was available. So my attitude is twofold, is that not only do I think it's a valuable piece of open space, but it's also got some cultural value to the town. So I was looking at it from a whole host of
Is the 300 committee involved in this piece of property at all?
We have not approached, but we are going to need to we've agreed to put a conservation restriction on, which means that we're going to give it to Salt Pond Area Bird Sanctuaries, then someone has to hold it. And I assume that you could hold the CR, or the 300 committee could hold it, but we do need someone to hold the CR, conservation restriction.
So this is just a vacant buildable lot, owned privately?
It's
Correct.
It's now built, but no matter what, it's buildable.
Right, all right, that's all I'm just asking. It's a vacant buildable lot, owned privately. There's no other agency attached to this. Okay. The other thing that I had a concern about is when the Ducks Unlimited came in front of us to do the culvert enlargement, which was a great project, and I was on the board at that time. I don't honestly remember, and I am getting a little not doing well with that these days, but I don't remember that this applicant was represented as being the person doing the work. It was represented as Ducks Unlimited, and if people donate, I just don't see how you can use that as a trade-off later, like, oh, good, remember I gave that money over here or that land over here, maybe I can use that as a swap now. I don't think that was the intent when we heard that hearing. It was
Definitely not. I was
okay.
on that also.
You were, I thought so.
I was going to ask eventually whether there's some kind of documentation at least about those donations.
And that there
and
was
I don't
any
know if
dialogue with
that
us.
solves the problem, but
Yeah.
I don't think that solves the problem.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
But-
I just want to be clear that I don't remember.
no, I was surprised to see that in this.
Yeah, I was too.
In these papers, because I had no idea there was, at the time of the culvert expansion, that there was any thought of something like this. And no idea that this applicant was connected to the Ducks Unlimited.
And that this was going to be used as the
I-
mitigation for
Right.
the Penzance
I can absolutely
enforcement.
prove that money was sent to them.
Oh, that's,
The
we're not
goal was-
Right.
disputing that.
If you remember, there was actually
Kind of
3
simple.
wetlands we tried to fix. And we were unsuccessful with wetland number 2 because there were native Phragmites in there, so the commission didn't approve that. And the third one, we got 9 out of 10 permits, and the last permit was denied, so it never got done. And that was much more significant. But in any case, this got done.
Right now, we are focusing on
Yeah.
that 35-foot
Yeah.
buffer strip
And I
and whether or
can't see it to
not
be
the
traded.
off-site mitigation compensates for that.
I think it's-
Anyone else? Mike?
I'm very sensitive to what Maureen brought up, but the fact that it is a buildable lot, 45,000 square feet, and if it is turned over to conservation land, I think that's a pretty significant contribution. I mean, that's a
Have you been out to the site? I would like to, honestly, I would like to just go out to that
Yeah.
site to see if it warrants and merits us to be going whoop whoop about.
I'd also like to see a plan, Mike, with the buffers. If that's what you're proposing, then can you please provide us a plan of that lot with the buffers to Kroll Pond and the wetland next door and any
Yeah.
associated wetlands around
It
it?
is attached to the,
Where? I have conservation restriction area. Do you have one with our A and B buffers on it? I
give me a
didn't-
second, I'll find it.
Okay. I'm sorry
Yeah,
if I didn't.
it's, on the June 17th letter is the last plan.
Hang on.
When Mark asked us to add the resource area buffer areas. So it
Oh,
shows.
to that. Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
Got it. So, you added the 100-foot buffer. Is that a no touch on that? Is that a vernal pool in there? On Barry Tate's property?
My eyes
I
are
don't,
It is?
I believe that's a
That's
road.
why it's a zone 8 rather than...
Magnified.
Okay, yes, I just wanted to clarify that, Chip, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can still have enough room to make that a buildable lot back in there and meet all the zoning setbacks?
Oh, yes.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just asking. I can't tell on a plan that you reduced like this.
Oh, you got your frontage off of...
Sir, please.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Please.
But what I,
This is being recorded, so it's, and it's,
the reason I said yes, that you could build another house on it, is when I go back and look at what used to be there, that was, and if you look at how large that footprint is, you could build a smaller house and be outside the 100-foot, and the only restriction then would be the septic, and you could actually make a narrow septic trench to get 3 or 4 bedrooms very easily in
Okay.
that
All right,
area.
thank you, Mike. Back to the board. Decision time.
yep. All right, any more comment on this, and which direction we'd like to go? I kind of happen to agree with Maureen on this, and I'd like to take a bigger look at it. And
Do you
go out
want to
there.
continue the 1884? So you can go look at the parcel?
Somebody want to make a motion to that, or?
Well, I would like to look at the parcel, but I also am, again, going to reiterate that if we do this, this will, as you know, they will always say this is the only time. And, you know,
That's
And the
not
ne-
true.
the
It
next-
won't be the only time.
it will happen forever after that. And every time there's a lot that would really like to have something on it that doesn't want to have a buffer, they're going to find a piece of land to put the buffer on for mitigation planting.
And you're looking at buffer between ocean and
And
salt
salt
marsh
marsh and
versus
eelgrass
buffer
and-
to land underwater bodies and vernal pool. So,
I would point out to the commission, you go out to 160 Penzance, the concrete and stone wall is impermeable. So if you look at the presumptions about what role buffers are supposed to have, it would seem to me that since it's impervious, the impervious wall does have some drainage in it, but it's going to, the buffer is supposed to protect the wetland from like man's activities. It's supposed to protect it from nutrient and runoff, and there's several other things. It's also supposed to provide wildlife habitat. So if you actually go and look on the ground and then you come out to lot 14C, I think you have to come to a point that it's just as valuable there, if not valuable, especially since it's got vernal pool setback. The driveway that exists out at 14C is within 100 feet. That, you know, the driveway, that's the access. So the bottom line is that there are going to be times, yes, there may be times when you face this, but there are times when you may find it in the public interest. To me, it's in the public interest that in the most sensitive area in Falmouth, you know, someone restores 1.5 acres of flushing in an area, and I think that creating a bigger open space around that pond will make that a very nice park.
So Jen, so this has never been done before?
No.
This remote mitigation type idea?
I'm sorry, but I did do one before. On 8 Wigwam, we planted a whole bunch of vegetation along the bike path. It was actually on, there was a fence along the west side of the bike path, and we agreed to plant a strip all along behind the fence, because when the town built the bike path, they built the fence, but there was no mitigation plans. So there were plants, and there are plants there today that were put in by the owner of 8 Wigwam.
Yeah, but did the owner put them in because they didn't want to mitigate on their property for something, or they did it because they wanted to make it a nice view?
The issue there was that you had approved an order that was drawn by another firm, and on top of the riprap shelf was cobbles, and they had shown plants on that. So I come to the commission saying these plants are not going to survive.
We're not, now I remember, we're not going to
Now-
survive, so you transferred the plants from the cobble, from the two-tiered wall to up above the bike path. I now remember that, Mike.
So you have done.
Completely, yeah, but that was a little different situation. You had 2 engineering firms involved. That was to get out of a situation that we had to, you know.
It also wasn't for, isn't this because of
It was Mr., what was the engineer's name, Bemis?
Bemis, that's right. And
You have a better memory than I.
he did, and he passed away. Or
No.
something.
I'm not
Or
quite
we
sure.
lost track of him or something.
I have no clue.
Okay.
Mary?
Also not, not the same set of circumstances.
It's
but
not the same set of circumstances.
But I believe there was another case involving the Mass Highway Department on Route 28 and taking some of the
That's a
Rainey's
wetland
Corner,
that's
Rainey's
a,
Corner.
Rainey's Corner.
that's a wetland replication, and you didn't approve that. States issued you a superseding order. You did not approve the wetland replication in that fact. You let the state supersede you.
Yeah, actually, I think it was maybe because we were concerned about imposing a burden on.
No, you didn't want them to take functioning upland buffer and create wetland out of it.
Okay.
That's what it was. You had a functioning buffer to Great Pond. You did not want them to remove that buffer to create more wetland.
Because we weren't
Kind of
taking
like what they're
So-
doing
Well,
in 52.
Can I
Sure.
My
Absolutely.
view of what we've been talking about here is that I think the precedent aspect is important, very important, and so at a minimum, I think we should take time to look at this lot and, you know, be sure that it's a worthwhile thing and not just do this casually.
Nope, I
If we
I
do it,
agree
yeah.
with that. If you're actually gonna consider this, then you should really take a look at the lot. I completely agree with you. I'm not saying that, you know, staff's recommending accepting this or not. I'm
Right,
not
no,
saying that. I
absolutely.
think you should take your time. So, Mike, can we ask for a continuance on DEP 251884, request for a certificate of compliance?
Yes.
Okay, the 8th is just completely booked, so why don't we do it on the 15th of July? Is that okay, Mike?
Yes, could I have a requested continuance until July 15th?
4/18/84, 25/18/84, see it, request for a certificate of compliance.
So, as stated, I would like to move that.
Okay, any more discussion on this?
Second.
Oh, just a
Mike.
second.
Thank you. I know you heard me.
Can we, excuse me, I forgot. What's the next hearing after that?
29th,
The 29th of July?
29th, Chip?
Can
Okay.
we do it the 29th of July? Now, I would like to ask a question. I would offer to set some stakes on this lot. What stakes would you like to see?
I'd like to see the buffer zones.
In the distance of the vernal pool?
Well, yeah, that would
Yeah,
be
be in
the.
the,
right,
yeah, okay.
So, in effect, I would stake out the exhibit that shows those resource area buffers on 14T. All right.
All right,
That'd be
so
helpful.
do you want to adjust your?
Yes, I withdraw my continuance date to July 29th instead of July, whatever.
Mike's on the second,
I'm withdrawing and
resubmitting a second.
resubmitting a redo.
Okay, so we'll come on continuing 25/18/84. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Any abstentions? Unanimous, so moved.
Okay, and then we're on to,
Back to,
Mike?
Re-
Mr. Chairman?
a request.
yes, I'm sorry.
Mike, while you're staking, could you put out the four corners of a reputable sized house to convince us all that this thing works? The notion that this is a buildable lot, I think is key.
Yes. What I would do is I'll furnish you a plan that shows the typical house, typical septic.
Perfect.
So you can see it.
There you go.
And then I'll set some stakes, I mean, whole.
No, don't, you don't have to do not.
I don't want to.
Actually, Mike,
don't,
could
don't.
you
Okay.
also
But
do
just the notion that,
All right,
just the notion that it is buildable, I think is the notion. It does away with a lot of other concerns.
Mike, can you also provide me with a full-scale copy of your plan of land for salt pond area bird sanctuaries, the one you provided at the end of your July 17th letter?
Sure.
Not the reduced copy, but can I have like 2
I'm-
or 3 real plans? Thank you.
Some, yes.
all right, very good. So now we're going to go back
To the
the
2005 enforcement order, and the staff needs to determine, so just to give those of you who were not here in 2005, I know a little background, if the easiest way to look at them, I have Mr. McGrath's plan from 2005, and shows the area of the wetland that was altered. Also, if you look in Mr. McGrath's letter from July 17th, Jamie, this will be easy for you to see, and Mike, if you go to Exhibit 1, and you see the little dashed lines next to the existing wetland, I'll have to, Jamie. Here's this plan. Maureen, I know you know what it looks
Yeah.
like, right? So, Jamie, if you come here.
Okay.
That this is the area, that was all wetland. So that was that. Following me, Mary? Mm-hmm. Okay, Russ, you got it?
Yep.
You
Got it.
showed you this, and then this is the full-size plan. And that wetland boundary was delineated by LEC back in 1990, what does it say, 97, 98? And I know you didn't do it, Mark. The wetland was filled, it was altered, it was turned into a turf lawn. The board issued a enforcement order to have that area restored back to wetland. The board needs to determine now whether the off-site mitigation of, again, the Salt Pond Area Bird Sanctuary's land and the creation of the salt marsh done by Ducks Unlimited in 2008 satisfies the enforcement order or can be used as suitable mitigation for the enforcement order. Staff cannot at this time recommend that, although the creation of the salt marsh in West Falmouth was a great thing. It was done 8 years ago. Like Maury said, you can't say, oh, I gave this money so many years ago. I'd like to use that now for mitigation for something that happened. I do have some concerns with that precedent being set. Not to take away from creating that 1.8 acres of salt marsh, but this was a bordering vegetated wetland that was filled and should be restored.
Mike?
As I stated, Mr. Nell and I came forward with a proposal to restore this, and we waited for a decision from the commission, and we never got one. And as I said, about 2 or 3 months ago, we had a discussion about, she said the commission did approve it. Well, it turns out that there was a different attorney, and you did approve it, and while my firm got a copy of that letter, I wasn't aware of it. So what's happened is that mistake in communication, we would have been before you a long time ago with that salt marsh restoration. There's been, unfortunately, a mistake and a delay. But no matter what, I look at it is that it was successful. And when I think about some of the replication stories, here you have something that was real. And the delay between the connection and is unfortunately a communication mistake. And it was human error more than that. Otherwise, it would have been done in a much more timely manner.
There was a restoration plan filed in 2006, Mike, or 2000? Was it 2006 by Sanford Ecological? That did have an actual wetland restoration of this property, not off-site, of this property. That was approved, was presented to the commission, accepted by the commission, and approved by the commission.
But it wasn't approved for several years, so time delays caused the problem.
That it, Mike?
Pardon me?
Is that it?
Yes.
Maury?
You know what I'm gonna say.
Mike?
There was a plan submitted to this, for this restoration, and the restoration never took place.
Correct.
For whatever reason.
Correct.
And what is the problem with just doing that approved restoration now?
Well, the bottom line is that the owner has made a commitment commitment to some very substantial off-site improvements, and I agree with him, he thinks that they more than compensate for this. In the opening, when we open up the notice, he's going to propose to construct some more wetlands on site and on the adjacent parcel 152, that when you take that and you consider the other things he's going to do, we think that they more than offset. So maybe it's appropriate to continue this hearing until we have the hearing on the,
I think so.
On the what?
on 152 and 160.
No, I don't think it is, Mike, because you need to figure out the enforcement order, because your project on 160 and shifting that driveway impacts, you know, their decision on that impacts whether or not that driveway can be shifted.
Well, I don't see why you couldn't continue the hearing on the enforcement so you review the application to construct the wetlands next door, which is going to be, you know, they're linked. So that way you would have an approval of a greater portion of the lost area.
And that would be that 6,900 square feet of wetland that you're saying is not part of your mitigation for 160 and 152 and is solely for this.
Yes,
That was a yes.
that's a definite yes.
Solely for this and not used for mitigation for 160 or 152. Okay. Continue, you want to continue this or table this?
Mike, you got anything else on that? Mary?
The motion to continue makes sense.
Yeah, I agree, it makes sense. I have nothing to...
Tommy?
Agreed.
Okay, do you want to table it or continue it?
It's up to you guys.
I'd rather just have the
I'd
applicant.
rather table it.
Table it?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to table it.
Table the
Can we have-
decision on
when
the
you
enforcement.
You forget my ignorance here. What
Start this
happens
at
when we
9:30?
table as opposed to what happens
We
when
can
we
come
continue?
back to it tonight.
We can come back to it tonight.
We can come back to it.
Right.
Yeah, or we can then continue.
Temporary.
All right, let's table.
All right.
I'm on board.
All right, so do we have a second for the table? Maury
Second.
made the motion. Mary made the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved.
Do we have 2 minutes?
Sure.
Mike, it's 9:30. We have a very complicated project. Give you 2 minutes, but 2 minutes only, please. Okay?
2 minutes,
You have a very complicated project. It's 9:30. We've been
Yes.
sitting here for 2.5 hours.
Anyone need to get up for a second?
All right, the four of you, can you sit here and we'll go through the request for extension for the existing order of conditions? And may I remind you, you still have an agenda to deal with tonight,
Yeah.
so.
For 2 minutes.
For 2 minutes?
Sorry.
What? Yeah, Tom, you can come
Tom.
back in.
Since it's your last night, you can come back.
Yeah, having a good last night, huh?
It gets lonely out there.
Yeah.
Okay, what are we doing now, Jen?
For a request for an extension of an existing order of conditions, this is the beach management plan for the town.
Oh, yeah.
You usually don't have any problem with it, and if you do, you
No,
tell us.
we're gonna, staff is recommending an extension for 3 years.
Yep. Same with, no, the horseshoe crabs.
Yeah,
all
same
that,
with all the same time
all
of
the
year
same? Okay, nothing got removed?
restrictions and everything.
Okay,
So moved.
second.
That would be Mary's motion, Laura's second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. I'm going to sit here till others come back, just because
Mike's.
It's more comfortable.
there's
Sure,
people here.
Well, we can't start the Penzance one
No,
until
we
Mike
can
gets back, so we can do other business.
Yeah, okay,
This
discuss
is
and
really
vote
quick,
status.
discuss and vote status, the 62 English Street enforcement order. We did have some correspondence, we went out there, they received a letter from Hamilton, they were unhappy with the quote that they were provided to by Hamilton. The Thursday before I left on vacation, we received correspondence from Bob Almond's office saying they're seeking other quotes. I've been going back and forth with this particular property owner since November on plans and quotes and everything. When we met out with Hamilton, it was specifically told to them that I wanted the plantings in by, I think it was the first or second week in June.
Just
That
hold on
did
to that
not
for a second.
happen. So, at this point, I'm asking the board to take a vote to send it over to council to initiate legal action because
So
we
moved.
just can't keep playing this,
Yep.
I agree.
So moved.
spinning our
I'll
wheels.
second that.
That's Moore's motion, Russell's second, and that, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, any abstention? That's a unanimous vote by the board to do this. This has been
Dragged on.
exhausted numerous times on trying to explain.
And I have
Well,
told
the
them
attorney
that,
will cost more than the plans.
So, now that we're up to speed, and I'm going to recuse myself again, back to the dungeon.
so I'm gonna be sitting out there for an awfully long time.
Yeah.
Hang tight.
Sleep just quickly. Can't fall asleep quickly. Or you can just do this.
We are
No, we're all that
untabling.
tired.
Okay, so we're going,
We're on the-
where are we now? So we're going to,
No, we're just gonna untable.
going to notice of intent, is that what we're doing here?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Okay, so it's already been read into the record.
Yes, we are.
Okay. Mike, you're up. Oh, I'm sorry. Move to, somebody want to make a
Move to
motion?
untable the notice of intent for 152 and 160 Penzance Road.
Second. Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to untable 160 Penzance Road. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved. So you're untabled. Mike?
My name is Michael McGrath. I'm a professional engineer and professional land surveyor. I work for Holmes McGrath. My firm filed the plan, accompanied me tonight is Mark Manganello from the LEC and attorney Richard Nyland. What I have done is, this plan is slightly different than the previous color plan that was furnished with you, because when we first applied, we showed the filling of a block of wetland, and we've taken that off. But this notice of intent
One
describes...
question, Mike, do you have a full-scale plan of this for our records? Just get it to me tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know I have it. I know
All right.
where it is.
Give me a couple of copies tomorrow.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll go back to my notes. This notice was on 3 properties. There's one notice that described activities on 3 notices. The reason that we have the one notice of intent for the 2 properties is that we're moving the driveway that serves both the house at 152 and the house at 160. We're actually raising the house at 152. We're going to build a smaller structure, and we have to connect the proposed septic system for the 1-bedroom studio is proposed to be connected to the existing stacked ruck system that lies underneath the cul-de-sac in the front door or north side of the existing house at number 160. So what the plan you have before you has obviously the wetlands colored in light green. It has the ocean liner, the water colored in blue. There's a velocity zone and the 25-foot added. And then what I did was I tried to highlight in orange what the activities were, though I forgot to highlight the movement of the driveway. So what I then did was I gave you a blow-up. So we can go to the second page. I'm now going to talk about the activities that exist on 152. We're going to move the driveway that enters both lots. And it's going to have a sweep in it. We're going to, the notice describes that if you look at this plan, there's an existing seawall here, and we're going to take off the upper portion of the seawall and build a new seawall on top of the existing base, and then we're going to build a seawall down the property line of this strip. This strip belongs to, I keep saying Saul Pennell, but he's the trustee of the trust that owns that, and he has signed a letter.
Hey, Mike, can you do me a favor? Can you just, thank you. She had to plug it in and she was having problems with the cord.
Oh, and so,
You good? Okay. Thanks, Mike.
so, and we're gonna tear this building down and build a new one studio that I dashed in black dots where the existing house is. If you look at clearly there, and you start here, there's a dashed line. And what that dashed line is says, historic mean high water compiled from plans. This old house has a license. And so the old house was built on top of historic tidelands. So we're actually going to build a new house, so it's on the old upland. So there's a, and the other activity that's on this lot is we have to put, there's 2 cesspools on this lot. They will not pass the Title V system in that they are installed in groundwater. So we show a new septic tank and pump station, and on lot 152, we're showing that's going to connect to the existing rock system in front of 160. The Board of Health has approved that with a condition that we'll talk about. We're also going to show that we're going to remove the vegetation in this area, and there's going to be wetlands replication that lies between the solid stone wall and the existing wetland that lies in the middle third. There are paths that wind their way through the existing wetland. They've been there for many, many years. We're showing that they're not going to be mowed like they have been. They apparently have been mowed, if you look at it. The bottom line is that when we look at the activities here, the resource area buffer, we actually have a reduction of impervious area because we're taking out the driveway. This is going to be called, it's called a studio. It's like a guest house for the main house. So there's not going to be any cars connected with this. They're going to park their cars at 160 and they'll come down here by golf cart. So we show that the total impervious area on this lot is being reduced by 2,013 square feet. So under your regulations, I don't think we need to propose any resource area buffers at all. At the same time, if you think about removing cesspools that lie very close to Great Harbor, there's going to be a significant improvement. Now let's go to lot 160. On lot 160, there's, we obviously moved the driveway. And then if you have the same exhibit in front as I have, on the northeasterly side of the house, there's a proposed terrace. So when you come out the steps, right now it's all lawn, he wants to build a terrace. Then, what's been described here as a pool, it's really a hot tub spa that's going to be constructed in there, and it's going to be surrounded by there's a wall here already, so there's going to be a new L-shaped wall. The reason I colored it orange is they're going to put stairs in it. And then going towards the southwest, there's a projection of the house that's an arc, and there's a door that's centered underneath the overhang. And there was a recent storm that the waves came up through the lower portion of the seawall and flooded the cellar here and flooded the garage. So what we're showing is that there's going to be a wall that's parallel with the square side of the house, and then there's going to be steps up and steps down, so that this is actually a barrier. In the narrative, I say this protects that lower existing level from the 1 in 10-year storm. The owner has owned it since '97. It's only flooded once. On the further along, there is he wants to extend the existing wall. Again, it's just to protect the house from the 1 in 10-year storm flooding his garage. So his garage did get flooded one time. So here in resource area buffer A, we have an increased impervious area of 1,738 square feet. In B, we have an increased impervious area of 998 square feet. So the bottom line is we need 7,210 square feet total of resource area buffer plantings, multiplying the A increased, multiplying the impervious area in the A by 3 and the impervious area in B by 2. So we provide upland of 1,470 square feet. Now, we have to...
Mike, I'm sorry, go back. Where's the 1,470? You just said you're providing 1,470?
I'm going to mark up
what are you doing?
to show the commission where the resource area buffers are.
Mike, what are you doing? No, sir, no. No, you need, I'm asking you. Okay, I got it right there.
Yeah, and then there's one that...
Can we accept this?
That's what I'm saying. What are you doing, Mike? Okay, and what is that total? So you're saying, help me follow me, Mike. You're saying that you need 7,210 square feet of buffer, mitigation planting,
On lot 160.
on lot 160.
But now I want to go through why we, don't forget, we have to combine these for the septic, we have to combine them because of the access.
I understand, and I
So-
also understand that you're removing 69, I'll get to my numbers in a minute, Mike.
All right, so now when we combine them, we have resource area A in combined, we have, in fact, a loss of 275 square feet. When you add up the impervious area increase on A and the loss on B. And then there's an increase of 998 square feet of B on the combined. So the bottom line is that I believe that then the net of what is required is, I'm sorry, 723 square feet, so multiply that times 2 is 1,446 square feet.
Got it, there's the 1446,
So,
okay.
and that we have provided 4,240 square feet between all the resource area buffers that we have shown.
Where's 4,000, where's that 4,000 number, Mike? I have proposed buffer mitigation plantings, 3,720.
In the mitigation area calculations
Yeah.
box, the bottom one, the total, which is a total of the two lots.
Yeah, it's the total of the two lots.
So you're providing me with 3,270, and you're saying you require 1446, correct?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, may I make a point?
Sure, go ahead.
The plans that I reviewed at home have the numbers on you just mentioned. These plans have new numbers on them.
That's because I took out the well. We were filling a well.
Okay, but it's a
I-
little hard to catch up right here and
All
now.
right, I
Mary, I did tell Mr. McGrath that you would not like plans dropped on you the night of the hearing. Actually, we had this conversation, yesterday?
I mean, they're confusing enough without
I told
having
you,
to do
Mike.
this on the fly.
All right, I understand.
I told you.
You prepare for one thing and it's presented something
Well, then
else.
say that. If you guys don't want to review them tonight and you want time to review these numbers, I told Mr. McGrath not to draw plans on you on a project of this complexity the night of the hearing.
Yeah, this
Yes,
isn't a
You
little
guys need to
adjustment.
stand up and
As a-
say you don't want to review them.
As
I
it
will
was,
stand
I
up and
had
say I don't wanna
questions
review
about
them.
3 different numbers.
All right.
I can barely hear your
In the
presentation,
plans I
Mike,
had
and-
home with me.
And focus on your presentation, because I'm trying to read this and readjust to the two different pages.
All right.
All right, so what would the board like to do?
Well,
Do you guys
why
want-
don't I
What would you like to
continue?
do? Hang on a second, Mike. What would you guys
I would like to make a motion to continue this, so we could all take these figures now, and we've spent a lot of time on these plans, and readjust to the new set of plans that
Then,
we
Mike, you're
just
going to
got.
have to submit full-size plans.
Oh, I understand that.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
So, I'm assuming
So,
you guys want to continue.
I would like,
I would,
Okay.
Can I continue to talk about the part that didn't change? For instance, the Board of Health approved the connection with a minor change. Do you want me to continue talking on that?
Oh, what, the Board of Health thing?
Yes.
That's up to the board.
this is my opinion. Mike, is there anything else, if we continue this now until, when was?
29th, I'm assuming, Mr. Nyland, you're going to want to be here for this discussion as
Okay.
well.
So if we continue this now until the 29th, Mike, is there something else you're going to drop on us, or it just, I mean, is there any more submittals you're going to make,
The only submittal that the only submittal, here's what I've told you so far. I'm going to make the salt marsh bigger to match what's on the ground.
Correct.
And the
You're
Board
gonna-
of Health approved the connection. The test that I had was a certain concentration of nitrogen, and they asked me to make it better. To make it better, I have to add a carbon feed. So there's not a carbon feed shown there, but I thought that was in
Yeah,
effect an
that's-
appurtenance.
yeah.
That's fine.
So, and what I was doing here was, yes, I changed the plan, but the former plan had a filled wetland that, the more we thought about it, was inappropriate.
could,
Mary?
could I ask him a question to clarify something that hasn't really been addressed at all, but about the ownership? This is presented as 3 separate owners. It appears to me that these 2 lots are being, forget about the easement lot, but these 2 lots are being combined in ownership.
Well, what happens in...
I mean, you just called this thing a guest house, so.
Well,
I have a question.
And
could I
Hang on a
explain?
second.
The-
Let him
it
finish.
really,
Let-
really it goes to the board, the septic system, because I think, don't you need, if it's gonna be 2 separate owners, shared system, you need a lot of, legal agreement and insurance, or legal agreements as to who's responsible for what. 2 different.
This is one of the reasons that I came down. So, yes, you're correct. We can't combine them as you would think of being combined. That would create merger, because that presents problems in terms of how they're regulated by zoning. But for all effective purposes, they're controlled by the same parties. There'll be easements back and forth for the shared system. There are agreements relative to the septic, as well as for allowing for replication to take place. So all of those licenses, everyone signed the the notice of intent, and so that's, the ownership will remain as two different entities, but it's one notice of intent for the whole project.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bring up something that was going to take even that long. I'm satisfied for the moment, thank you.
All right, so, Mike, anything else?
I just want to say, on the zoning, you can't have two houses in the same lot. Since
Did you say you can or you
you
can't?
cannot have two houses in the same lot, so
Okay,
that's very
gotcha.
simple.
Okay, all right.
So it's going to be separate ownership.
All right, Mike, did you have something?
How many bedrooms in the existing house on lot 1?
6.
And we're going from 6 to 1.
No, I'm sorry, I've screwed that up. The number 160 is 6 bedrooms, the number 152 is 3 bedrooms.
So the 6 stays the same, and we go from 3 to 1.
Right.
So we knock off 2
Right.
bedrooms. Good thing. What is the, before we get here again, that the elevation of the proposed house? What, house, no, it isn't a house. We're going from house to...
1 bedrooms.
To 1 bedroom.
The existing house is 5'6", but the new house has to have an elevation of finished floor of 18.
Are you going to be
18.
coming in, looking at, is it in the velocity zone?
No,
or-
it's in an A zone.
It's in an A zone, okay. All right, I think I'm now, with this information, I can wrap my head around the new project. Okay.
So we got a motion on the table by Maury, right?
To continue it till July 29th.
Second.
Second by Mary.
Mike.
Any other questions from the board here, or any other comments?
And you're going to have the stake, the light, the off-property stake.
Oh, yes.
You have to untable the enforcement issue and continue that to the 29th as well.
Okay.
I make a motion on table
All right, but let's vote on the
I'm
first
sorry.
one.
Oh, sorry.
To continue, all right, so, to continue this hearing until July 29th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstentions? Okay, unanimous, so moved. So now, Maury.
I make a motion to untable the
Second.
enforcement.
Second.
I make a motion to
Maury.
continue.
Maury made the motion, Mike second, okay?
No,
To untable.
I did.
Oh,
He was starting a continuance.
Okay. So let's vote that. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Unanimous, so moved. Mike.
I make a motion to continue until the 29th.
The enforcement order.
The enforcement order.
Second.
Okay, so Mike, Mary, enforcement order. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Unanimous, so moved.
So on the 29th, on the 29th, we're going to go back to the notice, and then we will deal with 25-1884 and the enforcement. At least we got 2 compliances tonight. I look at that as a plus.
It would be remarkable for something like this to be done in one night, so.
It was
I
a
told
lot
you,
of
Mike, don't give them plans the night of a hearing. I told you.
Not that complicated.
I know what they did.
What was
I
that?
can see what they did.
That's part of this plan.
No. We have to do board reorganization, and then we'll do
He had
vote
3
orders
different
and conditions.
columns in his original submission.
Next on your agenda is board, thank you, Mike.
Yep, the,
Mike,
Who's opening the
full-size
notice?
plans, please. Full-size plans. Shush.
okay, moving along. You're forgiven. We've, next is board reorganization. This is going to take effect on July 8th, whatever the outcome of the elections that we have right now. What I'm looking for is a motion for someone to be chair.
I make a motion to nominate Russ as chair.
Second.
Okay, we have Michael's motion, Mary's second. This was to be Russ Robbins to be chair of the Concom as effective July 8th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'd like to
Opposed?
make a motion to, I'll nominate Mike Powers to be vice chair,
Second.
July 1st.
That's Russ's motion, Mary's second. Any discussion? Call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Congratulations, gentlemen. Look forward to the 8th. Next is vote orders of conditions. First up is 22 Riverway.
I don't remember that.
I don't
missed
have, the quorum sheets in front of me. My brain's kind of fried right now.
Oh,
And we decided
I
to
should
take
have
up
taken a
some
break.
22 Riverway is Jamie, Mary, Russ, Tom, Mike, and Marty.
Can't even remember this one right now. I'm trying to remember it.
I don't think you
Wait a minute, no, Mike's on it.
No.
You want it?
I got it. I assume it's the same road.
This is the VSS project.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
It's just
Riverway,
the
this one,
septic.
Mike.
Yeah, so it's the septic system.
It's the, is this the raised system? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, this one was
The raised
actually pretty
system.
straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
I don't even have any questions on my notes
He has
here.
the dewatering basin if well, it will be necessary.
Yeah, it's behind the existing garage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
behind the garage.
Oh, this is the one, yeah, the only one was that the roof drains
roof
dumped down,
drain,
the
yeah.
roof drains
Yes.
dump right into the middle of
That
the
Mike
septic
wanted
system.
them
They-
to
they-
be in
they
dry
moved-
wells.
Yeah, yeah, all right, yeah, there you go.
So what was that we
Oh, the
wanted?
roof runoff and dry wells, because it was gonna dump right into the septic.
And dry wells, got it.
Yep.
Are there any other concerns from the board?
No, that was the only one I can remember that was on my list.
No, but I'll make a motion to approve as discussed.
Second.
Russell's motion, Mike's second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Next is 194 Sea Pit Road. This is,
Was this a multiple additions or something? And
hold on.
Yes. Yep, there it
Yeah,
is.
raise and
Yep,
rebuild.
these are the little ones, again, a BSS.
Yeah, so if they need, so we have special conditions to have structural engineering report, a stamped structural engineering report,
Correct.
correct?
Yep.
That if they had to do anything different than the foundation,
Had to
because
come
they were gonna
back.
raise and rebuild on the existing
Yeah.
structure.
So we need, do we still want the structural engineering report?
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
think they've supplied that yet.
Yes, we do.
And we also told them that if that did happen, they would have to move the house back if the foundation came down.
Yep. Report, if replaced foundation, come back.
And we also had this,
Oh. Sorry.
top of wall elevations with fill.
Back. Need top of wall and contour changes. He did submit a revised plan. I believe that was on it.
Okay.
So
It's-
let me check.
Yeah, I have it, right. Add the A zone for land subject to title action. So. And also,
As built for the septic.
require that they maintain the natural conditions north of the house.
Yep, stays wild in the order of conditions. Which would be to the
Yeah, this whole,
north of the house.
right.
And the large pines on the bank,
Yeah,
I think
All right,
Mike
guys,
asked,
I gotta write this down, so.
the large pines on the bank,
Bank, if there's any creative pruning required to construct
Bill
the
have to
roof.
mitigate.
Yeah.
They stated that it did not have to happen.
I could've sworn I saw it.
Stand underneath and look straight up, I couldn't tell you.
Me neither.
All right, I'm going back to need top of wall contour change, top of wall,
Just an image.
elevation and contour changes.
Yep.
Oh.
There was the as-built for the septic.
Yep, got that on mine too, as-built for septic.
Everybody sees it.
No pruning of the large pines in the bank.
No pruning but pines bank.
Without requesting a permit.
Right.
And, I'm just looking at my notes here. As-built, and,
We need to protect the system, that's why we want the as-built, because we need to know where it is.
yeah. And then the only other thing was that the plant list, that it should be predominantly bayberry, because, I mean,
Yeah.
there's summer sweet in there, which is useless.
Did you get what Mary said, Jen?
Hang on one second, no, which one do I want?
There's no
Oh,
cutting.
sweet fern.
That's, no sweet fern. Mary's was the wild area to stay wild.
Right, north of the house.
North of the house, yeah.
Yeah.
And I also have a note on here about adding, on the plan, add the A zone for land subject to title action.
Okay,
That's right, because it was too many lines on the plan.
Right.
Yeah, it did get a little.
Couldn't get one more on.
got it. Okay,
All right, I make a motion to accept the conditions as discussed.
Second. That'd be Moore's motion, Mike's second. Any further discussion on the board? Call for the vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous?
oh, here
So
it is.
moved.
I knew I'd seen it.
Excellent. Good. We also have 3 and 5 Ottawa Lane.
I believe, honestly,
Was that the irrigation?
that was the
Yeah.
irrigation.
Okay.
Yes, it was.
They wanted to know if they could have irrigation,
Oh, right.
in-ground irrigation,
That
Yeah.
bowl.
It's not,
in the
Okay,
bowl.
I'm going to start in the notion of being positive and let people respond. There's a strong argument that was made, and it has merit to me, that the automatic irrigation is positive and that it just doesn't get left running, and that it's there, it's an improvement in technology and allows better use of the water. Certainly went along with that thinking at the golf course. So it's consistent with where we are. The second thing that comes down is that in a normal set of course of events, I believe the increased irrigation forces more nitrate loading, which is, in a normal sense, not a good thing, particularly right on the pond, where people are trying to do their best to knock down nitrate loading on and off the pond, but the pond was their problem. My problem with this is there was an argument made that this is a special condition because of the topography where there can be no runoff to the pond, which is a site-specific kind of benefit. Coming under that, I don't understand the science that says we should reduce nitrate loading within 100 feet. It's a conserved substance, that's what we're told, that's what everything goes on. Why we are imposing additional restrictions to landowners, applicants along the coast who already have the burden of maintaining much of it is beyond me. So, and the last one is they came to us. They came to us and said, this is what we want to do. And I want to reward good behavior. Whether we think it makes sense to put irrigation in there or not, that's what they want to do, and this is what they want to do, and they came to us and they're saying do it. And, we listen to people who come to us after the fact, and we always feel bad about it, and we should be encouraging good behavior. And seeing no real harm, I'm in favor of saying yes.
That's definitely opening up the door. Yes.
In response, I substantially agree with Mike, but I think one point to be made is that, yes, we use these systems on golf courses and such, but the plantings that are required are nothing like a golf course. They're selected because they are supposed to, be native to the environment and not in need of irrigation once they're established. So, and I think, I agree about rewarding the good behavior, and I'm not sure in this instance how much harm would be done, but I think another reason for, in general, not, having the rule that we don't allow it, is that it tempts people to put things there other than the mitigation that we told them to put there. It enables them to sustain other things than what's intended.
It's a tough call.
Yeah, I agree.
The dragging the hose thing, the only thing I have found, to be honest, being in the landscape business, the dragging hoses, people don't do it. They'll do it once in a while, and it wears out really quick. And then they just start to be site-specific, which is their vegetables or their favorite rows. Irrigation, I just find it's so easy that it's used, this town allows irrigation every other day, even days, odd days. People are irrigating 3 and 4 times a week. And some of these systems are 18 and 20 zones. They're running from midnight till 6 in the morning. And California's ripping up lawns because of water. Yeah, I know, and I'm with you on it.
We can
Sing
save
for
all the
fun.
water we want to save.
I know.
And Falmouth, and not one drop
Well,
of
you
it
know what,
will ever
if we
get
let
to
them have it,
California.
if we let them have it, and then we have a water ban, then they just can't use it. And at least they have that opportunity to turn it on or turn it off, so. And I do agree with you, Mike, that when somebody does come to you and ask permission, instead of just getting the company come in and do it, even though I'm still not for irrigation, you do almost have to reward somebody. It's like when they come to prune their vista.
Yeah.
Instead of always being knee-jerk and enforcement.
While we're here, they went out of there, they got some magnificent trees on that property. Absolutely, and all that reconstruction, they've done their best
to preserve
to
it.
preserve that.
Yeah.
So we got a person who is sensitive to the environment, has demonstrated to be such, and I say reward her. And that's, my arguments are over, because I know the other side of it.
Make a motion.
So that would be, yes.
That's my motion.
You
What
make a
is-
motion to allow the
Still
irrigation.
irrigation system.
Okay, we have,
All right, I'll second it.
there's Mike's motion, Maurice second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved.
That's a first for me, yes.
But it's very site-specific.
It
Now,
only took years.
I don't see anything else on here.
All right, I'd make a motion to
Can
adjourn.
I,
Second.
can I say something
Yep.
real quick? It's been an honor working with you, Mr. Chairman, and I hope to see you in a couple of years.
Well,
Come
One.
back. It has
One
been
year.
a complete honor to work with you, Tom,
thank you, it's humbling.
and you
That
will
would be
be incredibly missed.
Russell's
Yeah.
motion, Maurice second, as far as the adjournment. And at this point in time, I'd like to say my own thanks. With the board's indulgence, I'd like to thank the board, both past and present. It has been not solely your honor, it has been something that I happen to love my community of Falmouth. We have a very unique town. The input and support that I've received from each and every one of you is deeply appreciated. The staff has been educating me and guidance and, again, support. I'm going to go a little off the reservation. I'm going to thank the engineers for some of the most entertaining nights I've ever had. Perception is everything, and it's something that truly there, I think we as a board have come and we've educated them as well. The applicants, thank you for allowing me to see some of the most pristine and lovely homes and areas in our town that I would not have seen had I not been on this board. And 2 other people that I really deeply want to thank. One is my boss. Dave Newton. He has afforded me time and resources to be able to be a functioning member on this board. And as an employer, I am very grateful for that. That's 6 years of my life that he also committed to let me do that. And finally is my family, because in those 6 years, I want to apologize to my kids for the places I didn't go, or the places that I didn't show up. But ultimately, it was for the better of everybody. And Tricia, the angel that walks among us, thank you for everything that you've done, and I'm coming home. Call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Me.
Unanimous?
I'm lost. Who made the?
I made, Russ made the motion, I second.
And you get the hammer.
There you go. And he said he couldn't leave.
Stop.